Are you thinking about making a podcast? Spotify has a platform that lets you make one, and if I can figure it out, you definitely can too. You can create your own content all in one place for free with zero hangups and even earn money as soon as you get started. Spotify lets you record and edit episodes from your phone or computer so you can go mobile, just like I enjoy to do. My favorite thing about it is that you can create video episodes if you wish and upload them to wherever podcasts are heard. You can even set up subscriptions, or if you're like me, listener support options for listeners to help you grow. I 10 out of 10 recommend the Spotify for Podcasters app. Or, why don't you just step over to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your own podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Off the Deep End podcast, where we break down these borders that separate us as humans and delve into the amazing things that keep us different and also connect us, because every single experience somebody has, someone else could be able to relate to that in a shape or form. And so thank you very much for joining us today. I have a very special guest, someone who I've never had on a podcast, because this is my first podcast, is my amazing wife, Rhiannon. But I'm going to try to just go over a couple things that, maybe we think that may help you in your relationship, or maybe you can relate to, or maybe that you get frustrated when we say and want to, talk with me about and argue about, how that's bullshit, or how it's real, or how you learned something, or even if you didn't, whatever you want to do. And please feel free to reach out to us anytime and ask us questions or talk with us about any of the things we covered today. So I think we should go off the deep end, just dive right into it. Okay, so Rhiannon, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule, which is, an understatement as it is, to come over and talk and open up a little bit for the people. We get a lot of kind of questions, I would think, about how a relationship functions, why our relationship is different than most of them in this day and age, and why we have this perceived happiness that it's almost like a dream come true for me personally. What do you think goes into making a relationship sustain over a long period of time? Because we have very diverse lives. We don't really open up and talk very much about the bad.
Right.
You want to go over what makes the bad not important, because the good kind of shines through.
Well, first of all, I'm super honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Second of all, there's the bad is important. Don't
Mm-hmm.
don't shy away from the bad. The bad is important. Fuck ups are important. Making mistakes are important. It's the only way that you're going to be able to learn. It's the only way that you're going to be able to grow. Figuring yourself out. I think if anybody who's done any self care self journey, like if they've gone on a journey with themselves, that they know that self-love is something that can be kind of hard to come across.
Mm,
And when you're trying to figure out who you are as a person, and you kind of intertwine your life with somebody else, and you got to figure out who they are and how you guys intertwine, and how you work, it can be a struggle, but it doesn't have to be a bad one. you know um Relationships are hard. No one said that they were easy. They're definitely hard. But that doesn't make it bad just because it's hard. It just means that it's worth working for.
I see. So okay, so you say self love. What do you normally define self love as? Because it means something different to every single person based off of, in my opinion, what they've been taught it means
Right.
through life.
I mean, I think self love can be whatever you want it to be, as long as you are comfortable and confident with who you are as a person. If you should be okay being okay on your own.
Mm-hmm.
You should be okay being able to share your life with somebody else. If you work out, great, that's your form of self-love. Great. You want to take care of your body, great. You want to sit and you want to write for hours and hours and hours, that's your outlet, that's your self-care, great. Going to a therapist, if you go see a therapist, if that's your form of self-care, great. As long as your mind, body, and soul is at peace, I think that that's what self-care should be.
Absolutely. I can kind of definitely relate and understand it to that, because, as you know, there's times where I get kind of irritated with life, and I don't know which way to turn, and
Oh,
so I
don't we
try to
all?
kind of focus in and dial in on how to take care of my mind. And I kind of refer to self love as mind control for yourself, putting good things in place in your life, so that you can understand how important it is to take care of your mind. I go to the gym very, very often. Obviously,
Right.
it's not like a secret between you and I or the world. But the part of the reason me going to the gym is to put myself through a hard thing so that now the rest of the day seems like a piece of cake. And I think The Rock talks about this because every morning he wakes up and he's usually got his workout in before the day starts. So he's already kicked the shit out of the day during his workout and beat himself down to a point of physical, just like physical and mental are very separate, but this all keys in, I promise. He beats his physical self into the ground so that he already got his own ass kicked by himself. It's hard for the day to kick your ass when you've already started off.
Kicking your own ass.
Yeah, kicking
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely kicking your own ass and starting the day off with your head held high, knowing that you already conquered one task and the rest of the tasks kind of fall into play. Obviously, right now, me working out in the morning isn't a part of my training regimen because, I need to have a lot of food in me throughout the day. I don't waking up and training fasted is not beneficial to my goals. But what what the whole thing about what he does every single day of starting it off with kicking the day's ass, it can be for some people it can be waking up before their alarm normally goes on snooze 10 times to get up for work.
Right.
Waking up, simple things, especially for people going through any mental issues like depression or they have anxiety issues. Their first task that they accomplish during the day is very special, and I really think it kind of almost aligns with how children love playing video games because there's a level to hit and they will hit the level as long as they practice, and it's right there in front of their face.
Right. And I think small victories are something that should be celebrated.
Absolutely.
Any small victory. If you are that person that hits that snooze button 10 times, try hitting it 7 tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then decrease it a little bit more until you are up on the first alarm. I think that comparing weightlifting and marriage or relationships of any type is super comparable, because just like when you go in the gym, like you say, you step in your very first day, you have no gym experience, right?
None. Oh
None.
man, there's probably
Okay.
someone taking a video of
You
you.
step on that fucking elliptical, you step on whatever, and you can maybe get 5 minutes in, and your confidence is like plummeted. You were thinking you were gonna go for a full hour. No, you got to work on that shit. You have to build some endurance, you have to build strength, you have to work on muscles that you've never worked on before, muscles that you probably didn't even know were there. Well, same thing in relationships. You have to work things out. You have to strengthen that bond, strengthen the muscles, and figure out things that you didn't even know that were there. And you have to work on them. You got to build it up until it is where you want it to be.
I see. Um, Obviously, you're comfortable talking about this. Have you ever been strained so much in your relationship that you didn't think there was going to be another day of it, or that you might not want to continue because you thought it wasn't worth the negative to have the perceived positive that there could be?
There's always been stressful days. Of course there's stressful days, but I don't think there's ever been a time where I was like legitimately set on like, okay, this is it. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I think that thought comes across everybody,
Mm-hmm.
especially on the really, really hard, dark days. Um, but I wouldn't want to ever, there's not anybody that's worth going through what we have gone through. And I'm not going to sit here and say that it's easy or whatever. We have a wonderful marriage. We have a bright future. We have a wonderful home. We have a wonderful relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But it took us some time to get here, and it wasn't a smooth sailing road. Um, but as far as just like giving up, and I don't think I've ever just wanted to just like give up and be done. There's nobody out there that's worth the hard.
I see what you're saying.
There's nobody else out there worth it to go through the struggles, to go through the pain, to go through the happiness, to go through everything. I wouldn't trade anything that we've gone through, good, bad, or indifferent, to give it up and throw it out the window.
I see. I see. I think that kind of
And I
lies.
have to remind myself of that too. Like even through the dark days, I have to
Okay.
remind myself,
Yeah.
of
How do you
those.
just tell yourself, oh, you know what? it's gonna be working out on the other side? Or is there like a light that shines in the darkness to you? Is it the time you put into it, or is it how it could be in the future? Is it hope? Is it faith? What is, in one word, sum up what it is?
I don't know if I can sum it up in one word, but the end thought is I wouldn't ever want anybody else to be the father of my children
Okay.
ever. And
So what
that,
gives that?
and
What
what
is that? Why is that a thing?
because you are the most respectful, the most hmm
Like what is it
strict,
certain
but not.
qualities? Like,
Well, there's a bunch of qualities. What do
okay.
you? There's a
What
bunch of
no, I'm just
qualities.
I'm just
Let
curious.
me get
Is
there.
it qualities, or is it moral? Like, what is it? Is it physical characteristics, or is it more of a
It's moral. It's
constitution?
spiritual. It's your characteristics, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you are with people, the way that you interact, how kind you are, your involvement in the community, your push of drive to others, your inspiration to others. I could only hope that our kids turn out to be a fraction of how great you are,
Well, that
and
is
turn it into
highly
something
flattering.
1,000 times better because, they're our kids.
Well, that's a beautiful way of putting it. Thank you for the compliments. Okay. Hmm. You said something there that really really strike my fancy. You spoke about our kids. You want them to have certain characteristics.
Hmm.
Do you think that you carry some of those same characteristics that your parents had? Like, because I understand that we're talking about this from a generational standpoint. We're passing it down. Do you feel that you have certain qualities from your mom and your dad that helped you become the person that I see in front of me today?
I mean, well, yeah,
Okay.
my parents were both very uh, strong but hard-headed people, and very sarcastic.
Do you think you're strong and hard headed, or sarcastic?
I think I'm all of those things. I can definitely be stubborn. I definitely have a couple of things to work on. I think everybody has things that they can work on. But I think identifying them is really important. For a long time, I was working on like my aggression and my anger and like lashing out, and finding healthier ways to communicate my feelings, especially in my marriage, because everybody I think knows that it's the easiest to lash out to the person that you care about the most because you know that they're not going anywhere until they do, you know.
Mhm.
So that's always a possibility. I don't think that anybody should take for granted the possibility.
I see what you're saying. Do you where do you get this kind of sense of self-awareness? I wouldn't say self-consciousness, because people often say that in a negative fashion. I noticed that you're very self-aware. You're catching these things that you're not liking about how you conduct yourself when you're um, uh, I don't know how to describe, under stress, frustrated. You said you're dealing with lashing out. What gave you that sense of self-awareness? Was it just the person you want the world to see you as? Was it you having a amazing moral compass, which I'm pretty sure the world knows you have? But what
Thank
was
you.
it specifically?
Unfortunately, it was realizing how much I had hurt everybody around me by me spiraling, by me
Hmm.
losing control, by me lashing out, and the hurt and the aftermath of everything was just it it got to be the point where I was like, something's got to give. Something needs to change because this is not who I am on a normal regular basis. Like something needs to change. And so and it wasn't overnight, as you know.
Yes.
It was not overnight. I had to do a lot of self-realization and putting myself in your shoes and trying to really figure out, the hurt and the pain, um, and figuring out what I can do to not do that anymore because it's not worth it. I don't want to lose my best friend, my everything in life because I lashed out and said things that I didn't mean, or vice versa. It just isn't worth it. And so unfortunately it took me to see a lot of, and not even with just you, I do it to my mom, my brothers, whatever, whoever. Just if I was pissed, that's it. And it took a lot of self-realization of looking myself in the mirror and looking at everyone around me that I had hurt with my split second decision of saying things that I didn't mean. And it hurt me, like, to realize, what I had said to hurt them. And it got to the point where I was like, something needs to change. I have to be different.
Wow. Well, that's really interesting. Well, good on you for being self-aware. I'm not gonna say self-conscious because I think being self-conscious is looked at such a negative way. It's
I
the
don't think
word
it should
the
be.
word's kind of polluted. So I always refer to it as self-aware. You touched on how the effect you have on others, and I think that's one of the most valuable things that you can have in life. I enjoy having a positive effect on people. When I have a whole family of people in the gym, in the Navy that I've had contact with just off of my just purely off my interactions with them at that time. I didn't know them when I was a child or anything like that, but I'll still receive you know
All
messages
the
on
time.
Facebook or
Oh yeah.
Instagram, calls. People will reach out to me if they're in the area
I
of
think that's
Seattle, and
amazing.
I think it is as well. I want to have a positive effect on people, and I think what you're talking about is looking at the effect you have on other people and deciding that it wasn't good enough for your standards, which are very good standards
Well,
to
it's
have.
always been a huge part of me is, I mean, as part of you as well, is having a effect on other people. Since I was little, I was giving back to the community, doing food drives, doing things like that. It
What?
was my senior project to end starvation, which it's a that's a big goal to have,
Yes, I
but
know a friend. We have a mutual friend, Steve.
yep,
His clothing brand, he donates
no
over 15% of it. No
rewind.
rewind. He donates over 15% of it to children who are starving,
Yes.
and he really is making a real effect. Shout out to you, Steve, brother. We love you, man.
Yes, we love you and we love your goals. We love your vision.
But why don't you go into a little more of the food drives as a
Um,
child?
oh yeah,
What?
lots of food drives, and I was a Girl Scout. Girl Scouts, what I mean, it was my thing, but not really my thing. Um, it was my thing for a little bit, and then, but I just there was something bigger. Um, there was something a little bit bigger there, and so when I was a senior in high school, we had to do a senior project.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they still do those anymore.
I hope they
I
do.
hope
They
so
suck,
because
but they're really
God,
good at
but
the end of it.
they really are. They teach you so much. But I raised 5,000 pounds and over $5,000 worth of of food. 5,000 pounds and $5,000 of donations to give to the Linwood Food Bank.
You're serious.
And oh yeah, and I dressed up like a turkey.
You dressed up like a
Oh
turkey.
yes, your mom gave me the costume.
So what?
She
Okay,
has pictures
so
somewhere. I'm sure we could
I
probably put
don't
them
put
on here.
anything past my mom at this stage. So
She
my mom gave you a turkey
Yep, she
costume.
brought me a turkey costume, which she actually sang to me in that same turkey costume when you were away. She came over to do one of her like singing grams for me, to cheer me up when you were away because I think you were on deployment. You'd been gone for probably 6 or 7 months at this point, and it was one of the first holidays that you hadn't been home, and it was rough. And so your mom came over and she gave me like a singing gram in this turkey costume. They had no
I cannot believe this shit.
so
Mom,
the
God
song in the
damn.
turkey costume had absolutely no ties, but it's what it's what she had. It's what
And then
she
so she
got.
gave you
So
a
she
turkey
Yes.
costume.
So she gave me the turkey costume that she sang to me in, and I wore it for my outside doing the food drive, and it was right around Thanksgiving, and the store had allowed their customers at checkout to donate a turkey or two. It was like buy one get one half off or something, and so there was so many turkeys, like probably over 100 turkeys that we had donated collectively as a community and gave to the Linwood Food Bank. So much so that they stopped accepting them from us. They were like, give them back. Like, we don't have any more room for these turkeys. No more. Like, we don't have any more room.
I see.
And we had to start going and giving them to like Mill Creek, and because we didn't, I mean, what are we gonna do with
So
25 turkeys that
you
they didn't have room
literally
for?
filled up the food bank,
Yes.
and you also raised $5,000 separately for
Yes.
this. Wow,
And
what? That's a huge
it
accomplishment.
was the greatest experience ever. I spent probably 3 months doing food drives and just I mean, it wasn't like 5,000 pounds all at one time. We didn't like rent a U-Haul or
Well,
anything
of
like that. It
course,
was collectively over 3 months. They would just go and you would get like one of those huge carts and they put it on a huge scale and they give you a little ticket and says, hey, you had 600 pounds this time, or 400 pounds or 200, whatever it was. um that was one of the greatest experiences. And then when I did my presentation, I also did it in the turkey costume.
Wow.
I had to get that's full use
You know what?
out of the costume.
I love it. I love it. Why not? So, what do you try to? How do I say this? How do you? What do you try to provide in a relationship? You personally into your relationship. Like, can you just go over the type of things that you personally, as a woman, not to broad stroke this, but you personally, what do you try to provide in a relationship?
You mean like specifically, or do you
Just
like
just some basic things.
I mean, I would hope comfort.
Comfort.
For one, just a calming before and after the storm. I think it's important to provide to your partner, you know, um, especially if they're out there working crazy long hours like my husband does. He's got crazy long days, crazy long hours, deals with crazy ass people. It's important to be that person that somebody wants to come home to, for one. For two, you don't want to be the crazy and then the storm, then the crazy and the storm, and that's not going to make your partner happy.
I see.
So definitely comfort, for one. For two, I don't know. I mean, love and respect and, friendship. It's important to just not look at your partner as just your partner. It's important to look at them as your friend and, a human with feelings. And, I mean, I don't know. That's a very, very loaded question. Because when I get up in the day, my day looks like, every other day I, prep my husband's food. And I want to make sure, because that's a lengthy process that I don't want him to have to deal with. So that's one of my ways of trying to provide comfort and calm, when he gets home, to kind of free up a little bit of his time.
Hmm.
His gym schedule is extremely um grueling sometimes, especially when we're getting close to competition, and it's something that you have to be in together. Like you're in it together. It's a partnership. um so I try to provide a little bit of I don't even know what the right word is, just a little bit, not like cutting you slack, but like providing a little bit of, if I can do something to take away of the load on your day, if I have time in my day to be able to take a little bit off of your load so that we can spend some time together, that is extremely important. I think that time together is important. Making time for each other is important.
I see. So investing in your partner.
Yes.
So, and obviously you're going to have expectations that your partner invests in you as well, correct?
Well, yes.
Okay. Well, I think everybody should have expectations, should have standards, should have lines that they communicate that shouldn't be crossed. In a relationship, I think a relationship is what you make it, and there's a lot of people who I've experienced, don't establish those boundaries. Those, hey, I'm going to feed energy into you, feed energy back into me, and that's what we should do as a couple. It can be one sided. It can be like a 70-30, and I think those situations become toxic very quickly because one side seems kind of left by the wayside, and on another side will just kind of power through like a train wreck and ruin somebody else's plans. I know I've been guilty of that in the past. So when you talk about feeding things into your partner, that kind of resonates with me because I want to be a better partner for my wife, and key into the things that she needs in her day. Try to I try to deal at a forefront most of the time with anything that could cause disruption in her day. So if I see something that's going to be irritating her, or I see something that I perceive, I get this weird feeling, like an intuition kind of thing, that this is going to go in a sideways, or this is not good for her, and not because she is weak or inferior, or any of the
Right.
bullshit that some people put out for their partner as far as that's what, oh, they need to be protected. It's not about that.
I think there's a lot of bullshit out there that's put out there about relationships. Like this whole 50-50 thing, to a certain extent, yes, there needs to be 50-50 in a relationship. However, it's not going to be 50-50 all the time.
It's definitely not.
You know, there's going to be times where, like for my knee surgery, let's just like make it very, very simple. Okay. Like for my knee surgery, I couldn't cook, I couldn't clean, I could barely even get to the bathroom by myself, you know, for like a week, right? And then slowly I started to get better, but it took me months to be able to get back to doing the things that I was doing for our home, for our pets, for us. You know, it took me a long time, so I felt like I was more at like a 30 or 40%, and you were having to give like a 60-70% at that time. Or, you know, when you're getting close to competition and you need those, you know, 48 hours right before you step on stage to just not have anything, and I have to be very, very understanding of your moods and your eating schedule and everything. Like sometimes I have to give 60 or 70%, you know, like
So it's a give and take kind of
it's
thing.
definitely a give and take, but it's a 50-50 sense. It's 50-50 in the sense of you guys take turns giving more or giving less.
If you're
You
in a
understand what I'm saying?
positively functioning
Right,
relationship.
right,
Okay,
right.
because I see
I
a
don't mean
lot
that
that
in
don't
like a
have that.
negative, like in a negative way. I mean, just sometimes you're going to have to come through for your partner when they can't come through for themselves, and vice versa. And that's just how you're going to have to make partnership work sometimes, because I got news for you. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's going to be fully functioning all the time because we're human.
Yeah, that's a
I
weird,
didn't know if
it's a
anybody knew that.
crazy weird thing. We're all human. We do make mistakes. Do
Yeah.
you find it kind of difficult to kind of put that into words sometimes when you need your partner to kind of step up, or
Oh my God, yeah.
do you try to make do you like try to make an effort to say, hey, you know, I've had a shit day, I need you to take the reins on things.
Now, I think now I'm better at that. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, probably not so much.
Well, what do you
I
mean?
mean, first of all, it's a lot, especially for a person that has I mean, I don't want to call myself like a prideful person, but I definitely take pride in myself, and I definitely take pride in the things that I'm able to do, and I take pride in my independence.
As you should.
And so, and I think that everybody should. But I think that I was over prideful in a sense where for a long time it was really, really, really hard for me to ask for help. Hey, I need help. Hey,
That's really deep.
I'm having a bad day. Hey, I'm not okay. It took me a really long time to figure out that it was okay not to be okay all the time.
I think there's a song that I shared with you that says it's okay not to be okay. Jessie J, Who
Yes.
You Are.
Oh,
It's a
yes.
very lovely song. She's quite a lovely artist. I've followed her
She's
for a
a
while.
extremely great
Yeah,
vocalist.
ridiculously good vocalist. But I definitely can relate to that. It kind of makes me a little bit emotional when I hear you talk about things like that, because it not being you feeling like it's okay not to be okay, that's something that society and that the people that raised you and the people that are around you, they give you these notions that it's not okay to be okay at certain times. And we live in a very, I wouldn't say cruel world, I think the world is pretty soft actually, but a very cold world.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of warmth and a lot of love and positive energy and authentic
Yeah.
relationships that surround me. I have 5 good friends, I would say, because all the rest of people that I know would openly or secretly cheat on their partner, and I really can't fuck with that. Like as a man, you know, I know we're in a world that doesn't like to say, "Oh, you're a man, you're a woman, you have a certain role." As a man, I have certain expectations and standards for my friends. My friends, if you cheat on your fucking woman or your man, I have a bunch of gay friends too. I don't care. I love it. A bunch of friends that are, you know, they're in relationships as well with men. If you cheat on your partner, whether it's a guy or girl, I can't
Just your
fuck with you.
partner in
I
life,
cannot fuck
period.
with you.
Yeah.
But that's just me, my standard for especially for men,
I
because
think disloyalty,
you're gonna
just
teach your,
period.
yeah. But like I've had a very, I know Trevor calls it a checkered past. I would say it's a very, I've had a lot of dark parts of my life where I was fucking with some motherfuckers that shouldn't be fucked with, you know. And
Right.
like I can't, I have a standard for them. If they wouldn't hurt somebody for me or keep me safe, just like I would for them, you know, we need to have that same understanding for each other. Brothers look out for each other. And if you cannot honor your woman or your partner, whoever may that may be, even for, I judge my women friends this way as well now.
Yep.
It took me a while to figure it out, but it's a
Absolutely. It goes
standard.
both ways.
You need to have respect for your partner. If you're in an open relationship and you guys fuck each other, good for you. But if you're not,
If it
if
works
you're
for
in an
you, it
exclusive,
works for you, but that's part of the of setting boundaries that you were talking about, you know.
mhm. If
You
you're
have to.
yeah, absolutely, you have to set these boundaries. And
Yep.
if you're in an exclusive relationship and you're disloyal to your partner, you probably be disloyal to your homies or your however you refer to them,
Right.
your constituents, your people that
That's
you.
your queen, that's your king. Like
Well,
how you
yes,
treat them matters.
well, absolutely. And if you're not in that type of sense, I don't like when people get married and like, oh, that's my wife, I love her so much, and they go cheat on her. Like that, bro. You're a bitch in my eyes. I
Yep.
don't have any respect for people like that. And I don't refer to women as bitches. There's, but it's so disgusting to me
Well, a
that we have
woman
this
can't be a
fake.
bitch. A bitch is a bitch.
A bitch is a bitch. You know what I'm saying? But um, what I was trying to explain is that I can't have these people in my life that do not have that love for their partner. And when you talk about it okay not to be okay, we have a society that has standards where we lose respect for people, and people that you grow up respecting, you very often, more so than not, you lose respect for people that you grew up with because they don't instill these things into you. Like, I know I have a lot of
Yeah.
people in my family I won't even speak to, not because I hate them, but because they're toxic, and
Yeah. Toxic
it's
is
weird.
toxic. It doesn't matter if it's family, friends, doesn't matter if you've known them your whole
Mhm.
life. Toxic is toxic. Um yeah, I can't even express how important it is to cut all that out. And again, that's something else that has taken me a long time, and little by little having to cut little pieces out here and there. Friends, family,
Mhm.
you know, doesn't matter. It if they are messing with my personal self-love,
Self love, that's the word.
my mental health, my, you got to go because you don't love me enough. If you are willing to mess with my mental fortitude, with my everything positive that I've got going on, then you don't love me enough. You
Yeah.
don't, just period. I don't even know another way to say it. Just that's it.
Absolutely.
Finito.
And I think you can take the energy that you're giving to that person and kind of redirect it into yourself and love yourself more. But because you're respecting yourself, you're respecting your boundaries. Like we talked about a little about
Yeah.
boundaries the other day. Having respect for people's boundaries is important. I'm not gonna go up because we have boundaries in our relationship, and I molded my life around the boundaries in our marriage and our relationship because it's important. I won't do something that would actively dishonor you or
Right.
show a lack of faith and trust in our relationship, because there's this trust you have to have between your partners. do you
And
think
that's
do
very
you think that
important
trust
not
is
to
important?
break.
Yeah, what you want to kind of open up a little bit about what creates trust in a relationship, instead of everybody knows what breaks it, being a
Consistency.
punk. So
Consistency.
consistency.
I mean, that's really the only thing that it's going to take, whether you have, a golden background or a dark, rough background. Consistency is what it's going to take. Um, because someone has to show you over and over and over and over and over again that they're going to be there for you. They got to show you over and over and over and over and over again that it's okay to come to them when you're upset. You have to show them over and over and over and over and over and over again until they trust you. You have to build a bond. You have to build a sense of trust. So, I mean, consistency. That's it. Consistency. Consistency and being open minded and being welcoming and being loving and being open, you
Mm,
know? That's what's going to create your bond of trust with your partner. Make sure that they know that you're not going anywhere.
I got you, definitely. I can compare this again to the fitness because it's such a lesson giving thing, that doing the reps, repetition is important,
Yep.
and that
Consistency.
aligning with consistency, going to the gym every day, or going to better yourself physically. You shouldn't just physically better yourself. You should want to be better in all aspects, in in the terms of self-love. You should want to be a better husband, in my opinion. This is my opinion. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better future father. I don't want the negativity and the shit that I've done to affect our children, to affect our relationship, because I value our relationship and I value the future of my child. I want my son to not have negative thoughts when he hears the word dad.
Absolutely.
It's a weird word for me to say and hear. It's
Absolutely.
weird. I
Me
don't like
too.
it. I want to have a lot of love when my child says dad or dad, whatever they could choose to call
Right.
me, right? Because it's special. And
I
I
think it's
know,
important that you want to work on that. That's, I think that's going, just backtracking a little bit when I was talking about working on my lashing out and things like that. It's very important if you're wanting to start a family and you want to be a mom, and you don't want your kids to grow up in a toxic household. It's important to be self-aware. It's important to realize the nasty things about yourself and change them, because I could very easily lash out at my child if I didn't fix that. And then what are they going to think of me? What are they going to grow up thinking of me? Like what kind of home, what kind of upbringing does that provide for them? If I can't keep my emotions in check, how am I supposed to teach them to keep their emotions in check?
I see. I see. You, we talked about this. I would say probably around a month ago, about when I said, I cannot wait for our kids. I'm going to make sure they're involved in physical activities that teach them self discipline, which is self love.
Right.
Um, like not just the average, oh, I want my son to be a football star. No, not stuff like that. I'm
They can be
talking
whatever
about
they want to be.
whatever they want to be, but I'm quite insistent upon them doing something related to discipline. I think
Sure.
that
I think
something
that's important.
jujitsu is
Yeah.
is at the top of my list, because I grew up in martial arts. I don't talk about martial arts very much because I felt weird towards them. After I lost a very special family member, I kind of quit doing everything. But martial arts is a great self discipline teacher, because going through the learning the moves, learning the stances, learning how to block an assault on your person, and how not to react emotionally, how to react based off your training, based off of your experience. I
Mhm.
can compare that to life now, because I'm not going to react emotionally when you do something that might upset me, because there's a possibility that you didn't do it on purpose. But when in the real world, where someone's throwing a punch at me on the streets of Seattle,
Right.
I'm going to dust them and push their face into a wall, probably pretty hard. And I'm not going to be stressed out about it. I'm not going to be nervous about it, because I've gone through that training.
Right.
And
I
that
think that's
is,
important.
yeah,
It's
I think it's important for
Yeah,
children to learn confidence,
of
not
some
being
sort.
scared,
I think that
you
being a
know.
part of a team, being a part of something
Hmm.
provides that. I think that now that looking back at your relationship with your coach and your teammates when we were in high school, and you were on um, the Linwood football team, um, and then seeing Tanner now play and go, with the upbringing and raising that he's had, and join a football team and what it's provided for him, and the qualities and the sense of like friendship, the sense of
Team building.
teamwork, the sense of team building, a
I call
sense
it
of
call it brother building, because it happens
yeah,
in
it's
anything that
important.
you spend a lot of time with somebody, you turn them into your brothers.
It has 1000% help shaped who you are. I mean, at least that's my opinion. It's
You're right.
1000% shaped the way that I've seen Tanner, grow up.
Hmm.
It's even wrestling for Jackson. It is a sense of like home, a sense of family, a sense of team building. And I think it's important for everybody to have that.
A healthy foundation
Yeah.
for a
I
child.
didn't play sports as a child, and I wish that I would have. I did choir forever up until high school, and then I quit doing choir. And I didn't do any sports or anything like that. I wish that I would have. I think that I would probably have better friendships and, you know, things like that. But watching you do it and watching, my younger brothers do it now that they're in high school, um, God, Tanner's about to be out of high school.
Oh goodness, I know. Isn't
And
that something?
but watching that has been very, very special for me, and it made me, you know, realize that I had missed out on that opportunity, and I do not want my kids to miss out on the opportunity.
Do you think that there should be a healthy mixture of team building classes or exercise team building things, and also mixed with you know more isolation sports like jiu-jitsu? It's you versus you mentally, becoming better every day, so that you can deal with an opponent tactically
Yeah.
using your
I
your
think that that would
skills.
probably give everybody a jump start on the things that I was talking about way early on in the podcast about being okay with yourself as well as being okay with a partner,
Mhm.
being okay with others, just being okay either way. I think it's important that those things like jujitsu and being part of a team and things like that, it's able to provide that because you still have to be mentally focused. And if one person's off, they're all off, right?
I got you. Definitely. Do you I mean, you talked about doing choir. Do you still sing to this day?
In the car and in the shower,
Hmm.
I do.
I think well, I think you're lying. I think you sing everywhere. Does it provide anything for you other than just your love of music and you know the symphony and hearing different chords and having them touch your heartstrings?
Music is very emotional. It's a very emotional thing for me. My relationship with music is very emotional. I think music is a very, very special thing that can provide you with a whole array of feelings, um, whole whole spread of memories. They can bring you back to that wedding day, or um, the day of loss, or the day of joy, or day of birth, or day of whatever, or just that day you were dancing with your husband in the rain.
Well, it's raining right now. Should we go? No. No, I don't want to take you from your husband. Yeah, I know, I know, I know. Too humble. Well, I definitely enjoyed music as well. Um, I was in honor orchestra. I was in honor choir. I did summer music experiences every single year for about 4 years in a row, to where every instructor knew me by my name. I had at least two solos in each of them, and then my balls dropped, so his voice went to shit. No, I'm just playing around. I've always loved music. Um, I always have. Even went from honor orchestra to the Young Americans group that came around and taught us how to make a concert in 4 days during the summer. Holy shit, that was tough. I had no voice singing all my solos, but
Wow.
I got through it though. I wish I knew about tea and honey. I would have figured shit out. But
Hey.
I definitely think that music can be so helpful to a lot of people. Anytime I'm dealing with a friend who is going through a tough time, suicidal, depressive, I think that's the right word. I don't even know. Anyone going through
Depressed.
suffering from depression,
Depression.
and I really use a song. I find a song and I tell them to listen to this song and then come talk to me afterwards,
Yeah.
because I think it pulls emotions out of you and kind of might nullify some false feelings.
You can definitely pull strength, from music, and you can pull inspiration from music. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, music is a very powerful tool. It's brought us close. I mean, we could be at complete odds and put on our
To
song.
Barry White.
We
We never played Barry White.
can put on our song and just dance, and then we'll sit down and talk and figure it out. And it's just it's a wonderful tool. I love music. My relationship with music is wonderful. But singing in the shower and in the car is, I think, where I'm gonna stick to.
Yes, you know what? I think that singing is something that's very special.
It's super
Um,
therapeutic.
and it might just be for you or it might be for someone else. And I know a lot of friends that can't sing and they sing anyway, and I think
I think
it's
that's
still
great.
special. I don't think that just because your vocals don't sound right doesn't mean you shouldn't express yourself in some form of music. And I have friends that play the piano. I've always been amazed by the piano. It's my favorite instrument by far, next to the cello, which would be probably my second. But I love music, and I think it's extremely beneficial for anyone going through a hard time. You shouldn't go and find a sad song. You should find a song that makes you think and help you think through your problems,
Right.
because it can happen. I do it. I'll do it. I'll sit in my car. If I'll get home at like 2 a.m. from some nights from when I started work at 6, and I'll sit in the car and play a song before I come in and just decompress, because you don't want to bring stress into my home. I do not want to do that. And
I think
also,
decompressing is super important.
yeah,
Even if you just allow yourself, like I started telling Jackson, because Jackson, sometimes he gets super super frustrated, and then I get really frustrated, and sometimes it's been a really really long day, and when you're dealing with two kids and two dogs and a house, and it can get overwhelming. And so sometimes I have rough days and I get really frustrated. And so Jackson and I will sit there together, equally frustrated, and I'm like, okay, we get 2 minutes to be as pissed off as we want. We can sit here, we can do nothing, we can yell at each other, we can do whatever, we can say whatever, but we have 2 minutes to be as pissed off as we want to be. We can be mad, we can be whatever, and then we're done.
I like
And
that.
then we move on. And that has really been seeming to work. I really recommend it to any adult, actually. Allow yourself 2 minutes, maybe three if you're having an extra bad day. Allow yourself a few minutes just to be pissed off. Set a timer, be fucking pissed, say whatever you want, hit whatever you want, do whatever you need to do for 2 minutes, but allow yourself that small, minuscule time and then move on with your day.
I like it. I like it. I would try that, but usually it would involve me uh, using all sorts of types of force against an escalator and cutting my hand open. So I'm gonna go ahead and
Well,
save that for home.
don't try
That
this at
little
home,
2 minute.
kids.
Don't try that at home for sure. So 2020 was definitely a interesting year. I don't think I've ever had a year like that. That was probably the most trying year as an adult for sure, having to pay bills and things like that, and have responsibility of stepping up as one of the people that wants to help my family during a difficult time. I know you stepped up to the plate. You know, you've kind of spearheaded making sure that your brothers got their education. You know, you welcome them into our home and have done an amazing thing, making sure that they are understanding the curriculum, because a lot of the times it's teachers just struggling over having the kids keep their monitors on for hours at a time as they play a game of my parents aren't looking, let me turn off my monitor and see if my teacher gets
Right.
irritated. There was a lot of people who took their life last year that I knew. There's a lot of people who um, died or have
That we just
relatives that
lost
have
in
died.
general, yeah.
Yeah, I know my mom's boyfriend unfortunately lost his life in a hospital,
He was
which
such
which
a
is
good man.
which was very devastating, you know, on this end. What's something that you struggled with last year that really irritated you? I noticed that I watched you as the world became more jaded. You're a very loving person, and
Yeah.
as the world became very more jaded, some people took those jagged rocks that I would call their political views or their heart, and instead of talking with you, just conversing and sharing information in the age of information that we live in, with computers being able to order you new parts on your car, upgrading Teslas at a click of a button and things, you know, what some things that you struggled with? Because I know people, you had a lot of friends that turned on you in a negative way
Oh
and
my
judged you
gosh.
without even talking to you. They judged
Friends,
you.
family, the election was rough, and I've never told anybody in my family or anybody that I'm friends with, or like, if you believe one way or the other, that I'm not going to be friends with you, or I'm not going to talk to you, or lash out at them in like a negative, like wish ill on them type way, you
It's very
know?
mature of you.
And the amount of borderline hate mail, I would say. And I mean, I wasn't even really out there with my political views or anything like that. Like, I wasn't on there like trolling anybody or like really like putting my opinion out there or anything. It was more stuff of like, your husband, you know, sees this and or believes like this, so you need to believe like this, or you must believe like this, or whatever. Or they'll just take something completely out of context that you've said, and then all of a sudden they end up in my inbox, and I'm a white nationalist and I'm all of these things, and I'm like,
Wait a second. You mean to tell me that some dumb fuck told you, who has uh like, your husband is half black and half white, right?
yeah,
So on one side of this, that the black side, you have his grandpa being a Black Panther, and the other side, his grandfather wouldn't hold him as a child because he was black. And you're a white nationalist.
yes.
Oh wow, what a world we live in.
I mean, but that's just ignorance. I mean, that doesn't even make sense. So obviously they don't know what they're talking about. But that took me some time too, of like getting past they're just ignorant. They don't know what they're talking about, because people that are angry will just lash out because they're angry, you
Mm.
know, and they don't even know what they're saying, obviously, most of the time. So it took me a long, because it was coming in so much that I had just had enough. Like, I was just like, I don't do this to people. I can't even form my lips or bring my thumbs to the keyboard to say anything like what these people were saying to me, for no reason. I did nothing to these people. And some of it came from people that I thought knew me, that I thought loved me, that I thought whatever, I'm sorry. I love you, but
When
I
you say "I
love
love you,"
you,
but
but
that really fucks and
I
sucks.
love you, but I can't have you in my life anymore because you think this way. I can't, and I'm like,
Hmm.
Okay. I mean, that's kind of a you problem, right? Like that's not a me problem. If that's what you choose to do, if that's how you choose to handle it, if you choose to be closed-minded like that while preaching to be open-minded, then hey, you do you, boo. Um,
Absolutely.
but I'm just going to be here, you know.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be here doing me, doing, staying positive, staying happy, and you can choose to be a part of it or not. But I think that worrying about who's going to stay and who's going to go anymore has just, I think 2020 has just worn me out from giving a fuck.
About
I think
negativity
that they took
in
the
general.
last two fucks that I had to give
Uh-huh.
and they took them and they fucking ran with them. That's what happened in 2020. I just I just don't have time for it anymore. The amount of negativity that I received in 2020 for things that almost had nothing to do with me was ridiculous. On top of that, more importantly, you know, we lost we lost lives. We lost people that we loved. We
Mhm.
lost people that we were friends with.
That we even people we
People
didn't like who
people
they're
that
lost people that we loved and we were
yeah,
sad about it because
people that took their own lives, people that we've grown up with, people that we, helped us build our home, people that, we have lost, people that are very, very close to us. And when you take time to deal with the loss, all the small, hate mail in the inbox and whatever, it all seems so irrelevant. I don't want to say that it was small because it definitely had me feeling some type of way for a while. Like I was
absolutely.
like super upset about it and I just didn't know what to do about anything. I didn't respond to anything and then it was almost worse when I didn't respond, right? Because then I'm a pussy and I'm this and I'm that and it was like there was no winning with these people. There is no winning with hate. There is no winning with evil. You got to let that shit go and sometimes that's just as hard as trying to reply because sometimes people say something that really strike a nerve and you just want to go back to being the old Rhiannon and lash out and tell them about themselves and put them in their place. But why?
Absolutely.
Why?
Why even
Why
give
do
them
they get
that
to steal my
negativity?
energy? Why? Just no more. Like I said, 2020 took the last two fucks. I took them and they ran with them. That's it.
Well, two things I really gathered from what you said there were that I assume you've watched the movie Star Wars Episode 3. All
Yes.
right, because I'm going to nerd out real quick.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very special line towards the end of it, and obviously in the fucking Star Wars world, you have the Jedi being the perceived good guys, I would say, and then you have the Sith being evil, the people who run the dark side of the Force. However you want to describe it. You have good and evil, dark and light, and they say only a Sith deals in absolutes.
Yep.
And he said it right after one of the main characters, Anakin, says, "If you're not with me, then you're against me." And I think that phrase there is
Anakin lost
very he
everything.
lost everything. Yeah, that little bitch. But it's really bad for people to deal with people that way. I have a friend, and his political views don't necessarily align with mine,
That's okay.
and but I don't fuck with any type of extremism.
I think
Any form of
yeah,
extreme.
any type I think
You
is
can't
just
you can't
it's
do it.
bad.
You can't deal in absolutes because you're not going to get the full fucking picture if you only have just one side, and if it's any other way other than what you think. Oh, that can't be true. Oh no,
And
it
that
cannot be a
completely
thing.
takes away from the
Hmm.
open-mindedness that I wholeheartedly believe
Hmm.
in.
Absolutely,
I wholeheartedly believe in being open-minded and being able to listen and being able to grow.
and learn.
Yeah,
We're
1000%.
literally in the age of information. If you don't want to know the truth, there's probably an underlying reason behind that because you want to be right more than you want to be authentic,
Right.
to have truth behind what you say.
Right.
I would never ever sacrifice my ego, or I would never put my ego before my heart in a sense of wanting to not know the truth. I value other people's speech. I value other people's love they have in their hearts for things, and I try to provide a meaningful conversation when I find somebody who doesn't believe the same shit that I believe.
Right.
I don't need to deal in absolutes. I'm gonna be straight up. There's a lot of things that I don't fuck with that Trump said. There's a lot of things that I fuck with that he did said. There's a lot of things that I fuck with that Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard said that I don't fuck with, and a lot that I love about their ideology. at the end of the day, what's important is we look at things from a small community. A lot of people don't even know who their own city council members are, and blame the president or the cabinet,
You know
or
what?
for their instances. And everything starts small.
For the age of information that we are in,
Mm.
so many people are so fucking misinformed.
Misinformed. Yeah.
You know, I just they're so misinformed, and it's incredible to me. It's like, I think you've received a lot of backlash
Oh
with
fuck yeah, I have,
just
man.
of reposting things and saying thoughts
Thoughts. I
question
want
mark,
to know what you
right?
think. You fuck.
Because you're trying to start these meaningful conversations, and I think that questioning anybody's belief and them having to explain why they believe in it
Mm.
is a challenge for a lot of people. I know that sounds really
It's
dumb,
scary.
but it's the fucking truth. Like if you really question somebody, and I think that's why they get so upset, because you notice that there's a lot of people on your threads that are open to the conversation, and they're
Yes.
they're this is what I think, this is my take on it,
Mm.
whatever, and they're not coming from a
Place of
stance
hatred.
of like anger or
Mm.
anything like that. They're coming from a stance of like open-minded, and I want to learn, I want to grow, right? But there's a lot of people on there that just start to jump down your throat, and I think it's
I'm willing to
because
talk
they
to them.
they feel personally attacked, because they feel like they have to explain themselves. And what's funny is that you're not actually talking to any specific individual. You're
I
just
said the word
asking
thoughts.
for thoughts,
I want to
right?
know what you think because I value what you think.
I think that people are terrified of having to explain what they believe in and why. Or maybe not what they believe in, I think why.
I think also perfectly aligned with that. I think it's like a 50-50 between that and the fact that a lot of people don't want to be on the wrong side of a situation. People want to be good people. I don't think there's a lot of people in the world besides what the news and these sad organizations that
Media
make
is
money off of clickbait.
evil.
They make money off of things that you click and they're sad. They're never positive. I want to see positivity. And that's not really highlighted. A lot of people don't want to be on the morally incorrect side of a situation. And when you have a bunch of people screaming that this is wrong, a lot of people might get behind that, even if they don't fully understand, which is admirable. But there's a lot of situations out there that you should be informed on before you get behind. There's a lot of people, for instance, I'm just going to give you an extreme example because we live in a world of extremes right now.
Yep.
A lot of people jumped on the Nazi bandwagon because they were in fear of things. They were in fear of being murdered. They were in fear of being killed. Their books were being removed. Their information was being removed. And at the same time, now we fast forward to the year 2021,
We're back
and
to putting
we
sheep's
have
blood over
somebody.
our doors.
Yes, we're that's a very beautiful way of saying
You
that.
know?
If we're getting fucking biblical in this,
I'm
which,
just saying, like,
uh,
that's what we're back to.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think that something interesting about this is that there is a Disney star, and I know the situation has. There's a lot of different articles out there. It's hard to kind of sift through and find the truth. So I actually listened to her interview with Ben Shapiro, whose grandfather was murdered by Nazis in their horrible regime that existed.
Ben Shapiro has a great podcast.
Yes, and sorry about that. And I watched I listened to this podcast while I was at work, just in one ear so I could hear everything
Ben's.
else around me. Yeah, Ben Shapiro had um this lovely lady who was an MMA star and now an actress on
Mm.
TV, and I listened to her explain the whole situation from her standpoint, and I can understand how you can put something out to the world and they might receive it in a different way, and I can understand that when you put something out to the world in a toxic way, it's not cool as well. I really encourage that anybody who wants to know more about the situation to actually listen to the podcast, because it was an eye opener for me about the people who engaged in this conversation with her. It was and this and saying that she was spewing hate speech. I feel like there's a big difference between hate speech and speech that you hate. And when I study the Nazi regime and how they came to power, I know about how they went into Africa. I know about how they hunted down people who were gay. All these things. There were so many things that you could be killed for by the Nazis, and it was really hard for me to kind of understand why anybody would not want somebody giving their opinion openly, right, in this beautiful country of America, about why things that are happening in our world now in our country are aligning with things that the Nazis did. There's nothing positive that the fucking Nazis did.
Right.
If I'm telling you that your book is hate speech, if it doesn't preach hateful rhetoric, is it hate speech? No. Do I just because I don't like it? It might be speech that I hate,
Yeah, I was about to
not hate
say there's
speech.
a difference between hate
Speech
speech and speech that you hate.
and I think that as a society, we're starting to not look at things from the angle of love and more of the angle of hatred. If we look at things, if I put on fucking DUI goggles, I'm gonna see things from a drunk perspective. Apparently, I've never been drunk enough to look at shit like that. But if I did, I would see these from a blurred perspective. And I think that society is looking at things with a blurred perspective instead of having a conversation like this right here. I don't agree with a lot of things you agree with, but I'm willing to listen to them
Yeah.
because you know why? You're a human being, and I might be fucking wrong. And
Yep.
I think that's worth the effort of
And that's
figuring out.
huge to say. That's huge to be able to like admit. It's huge to be able to be open about.
Yeah, we got to peel back these layers and see who we are, what we might be wrong about, what we might be right about. There's no
If you
reason.
don't, you won't grow.
If you don't grow. You're gonna. I don't want to stay the same in the age of information. I want to
Mm-mm.
have a Tesla because in the future I want to have but I want it to be something that doesn't impact. I don't know. Impact the world worse than gas. I want to do the best thing for our environment. I want to do something that's not the new big green fucking deal. I
Right.
want to do something that really benefits the environment. I want to go out to nature and pick up things as a community member in my community that shouldn't be on the ground that are polluting the area.
Yep.
I want to personally do that, and we can all do our part. We don't need our tax dollars necessarily to be increased to benefit. There's a lot of tax dollars out there. You don't. Maybe we can cut funding somewhere else. It's just a thought. It's not my opinion. It's just a thought that we could have.
I think once a month we should organize a team to go pick up
Yeah,
garbage in the
I know that when we
community.
go shooting from now on, I'm going to be bringing giant trash
Garbage
bags,
bags.
and I'm going to fill up the back of our vehicle with trash
Yep.
because I care about our environment. And if I'm out there shooting the fucking trash out of things, I think I should pick up whatever I leave behind. Also, whatever other people are asshole-ish enough to leave behind as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to come the 70-30 in our community sometimes.
Yes, we definitely have to become the 70-30. Did you have any things about 2020 that you really benefited from, that really were so significant to you, to the way you think about life?
I got to spend a lot more time with my family in 2020, and I got to um spend more time with my dogs and being able to train, and I didn't spend as much time with my husband as I thought I was going to be able to during quarantine because, essential workers and whatnot.
Oh yes, I got this beautiful sign that came with my buddies. He ordered bulletproof armor,
Yeah.
and he ordered me a special pass that says "Hello, my name is Essential." So I wear that on my jacket every day at work. So
I really just got to spend time with my family and really experience the growth, and um I got to put my home together, and I got to garden, which I think is a new thing that I have taken up. When we lived in an apartment, it was a little bit harder to garden. I went from having a couple tomato plants on my apartment porch to having an entire greenhouse that I love to take care of. So I definitely learned a new skill. Um, I found a little bit more peace, a little bit more happiness. I found out a little bit more about myself. I found out things that I, take refuge in, and I found things that I find therapeutic, and I found out more things about myself to be able to grow. And now I'm on the right path to be able to get ready to start a family.
how exciting is that? I noticed that you are you don't go out to a job every single day and rely on somebody else to pay your bills. You actually create things from your hands, uh, and you create things of art, and you sell these things.
Yes.
So you're a small business owner. Where
Yes.
you usually can you expand on that a little bit? Tell me about it.
Get Cozy with Bree is almost 3 years old, and it
So it's
has
not potty training anymore.
no,
Okay.
not not really in potty training anymore, but 2020 has definitely been pretty significant. There wasn't any more shows that I could go to. That's where I do a lot of my promoting and a lot of my sales and things like that, is being able to go to craft shows and art shows and stuff like that. But with everything being shut down, I've had to rely mostly on social media, Etsy, things like that. So Get Cozy with Ree, I love it so much, and I'm never gonna give up on it. It's something, my business is something that is very, very important to me. When I started having seizures, I started knitting and crocheting because I had lost some functions in my hands, like being
What?
able to like type, and which was my job for a long time, was typing. I was a vacation planner, so being on the computer for 10, 12 hours a day was,
Oh
that was
my
my job.
goodness.
Um,
So you had seizures and you
mm-hmm.
couldn't could you work still, or was it becoming worse at work?
No, it all started with like headaches. I started having headaches, and then they prescribed me this medication that I all of a sudden in my mid 20s started having these seizures that I'd never had as a kid.
You've never had a seizure before, and a doctor gave you a drug
Mm,
based off of their experience and knowledge as a superstar licensed
which the top
person.
side effects are seizures, by the way, on the back of that pill bottle. But it's fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
and have the
I didn't
seizures stopped?
No, they're less frequent. But I stopped taking the medication like probably 6 months after started taking it, and we realized that that's what it was. Maybe it was like 5 months. But whatever it is, whatever rewired in my brain, whatever it is, it hasn't permanently gone away. And when I was taking it, I was having multiple a day,
Jesus fucking
like
Christ.
multiple seizures a day, and I think that that's really what was making me lose the function, was that initial activity there. And then once I stopped taking it, and I've been off of it for like 2 years now,
Mm-hmm.
3 years, and I still every now and again have a seizure, or
But they're
like when
pretty few
I'm
and far between, or is it pretty? Are they worse, or is it just less
um
frequent?
it's just less frequent. I
Okay.
mean, nothing has really changed, like the intensity hasn't really changed. They're just less frequent. But
Hmm.
they're scary. They're scary for me. They're scary for everybody around me.
I could imagine it'd be
And
traumatic.
now I am super jaded when it comes to taking any type of medicine or pill or anything like that. It's I have a very strong relationship with marijuana, and that works for me.
Yeah, well, that's good.
And yeah, it doesn't work for everybody, but it definitely works for me.
But
Um,
is there a certain? So I'm not very familiar with weed. Well, I don't smoke weed, right?
right.
I don't fuck with that shit because it just doesn't make me happy. So
I think choosing your strain is really important.
what strain do you
Definitely.
prefer
Well,
for seizures?
well, for I don't really smoke weed for seizures because I'm trying to prevent them, right? So I'm trying to make sure that like I'm okay, that I'm not pain free. So like for instance, my main struggle is migraines and headaches.
Okay.
And that's kind of where all of that whole thing started, right? Was when I was trying to get help for my migraines.
Yeah.
So I stopped taking all of my migraine medication. Because even though they thought that they had figured out exactly what medication it was, I just I just stopped taking all of it. I I stopped taking all my headache medication. I stopped taking everything, and I started smoking Blue Dream.
Blue Dream.
For my migraines and my headaches. Blue Magoo is another one that is really great for pain and sleep and things like that, because I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping,
Oh my goodness.
having headaches, and having to stay in a really, really dark room because light hurt, but you can't
Hmm.
sleep, and it was just a
It's
huge
really not good.
no. So
Blue Dream
yeah.
and Blue Magoo. So the Crip strands. Okay, nothing but blue.
Yeah.
No blood gang activity. Okay, sounds like a plan. So those are what if so you're not a doctor, you're not a licensed
No. I
recommended
don't know
person,
anything.
right?
I'm not recommending it to
But
anybody.
if they would try it, the worst thing that could happen is they get high. So
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to speak for anybody. I think it's important to be self-aware about what your body can handle and what you can't. Listen to your body. That's my advice to everybody, is just listen to your body.
Okay.
Just because marijuana works for me, I have several friends that it does not work for them.
It's not
It's
their
like,
thing.
no, it's like poison for them. Like, it does something to their body that
has really adverse side effects.
Yeah, super adverse side effects. So it's not for everyone. I'm not telling anybody to go out and get fucking stoned by any means, but if it works for you, great. I know lots of people that it does work for, and I know a few that it doesn't work for. I know a lot more that it does that it doesn't, but just that disclaimer out there because everybody is different.
Every body is different. I really
Yep.
like that. I think we're gonna touch about that phrase you just said a little bit later down the road when we talk about fitness. Because I really want to get into fitness and talking about it with you. Do you enjoy working on your own business? What is the benefit of investing in yourself and really putting your fucking lady nuts on the line? I'm sorry if that offends anybody. I said it. I'm sorry.
um
What your lady nuts on the line there and really testing your grit and seeing I can do this. Is it what is the benefit of that?
the biggest benefit that I've got is putting my name on something that I'm proud of. Looking around and seeing people that are at the gym or at the tree farm or anywhere that we go and they're wearing my Get Cozy with Reed beanie or they're snuggled up to my blankets and they're sending me family Christmas cards with their family and um um sorry they send me Christmas cards with the blanket wrapped around them and things like that. I love it when people send me feedback and things like that. Watching people wear my headbands and stuff like that is always a very, very wonderful feeling. Like I don't know, it's a very good sense of accomplishment.
Do you think there's anything more authentic than seeing the fruits of your labor?
No,
Okay. Do you miss having someone tell you that you're 1 minute late on your lunch break
no.
or things like that? What do you have any recommendations for anybody looking to start their own business?
Do your research. For sure, definitely, and make sure that it's something that you're passionate about. Don't just jump into something because you want to be your own boss because it's not easy. It's definitely hard. It's hard to stay on task. I would create yourself a schedule just like you were at work. You get to have your own schedule, but you do need to have a schedule.
Mm, okay, I got you. Do you think there's I know you and I have both experienced false prophets out there that will kind of loop you, not necessarily a pyramid scheme, but loop you into a way that benefits them more than it benefits you.
What do you mean?
Like different programs out there that they have that they get you going with different like I know we had someone that was trying to talk to us very frequently about joining his online business, and it was a complete scam shit show. Or do you think there's a lot of more false prophets out there than more authentic ways to make money?
Well, of course. I mean, I think a lot of those are led by opportunists. Everyone's just trying to make a quick dollar.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you have anything to kind of key in on to how to recognize that?
I
Like any
mean,
characteristics that or any red flags that you received from people? Just
cold messaging is a dead giveaway to anybody out there that it's just a dead. That is a dead giveaway. That is your number one red flag. Stop cold messaging. Stop cold messaging people. It's like it's the number one thing that everyone tells you to do is cold message, cold message, cold message, cold message. No, stop doing that. That shit's annoying. It does not work. And 9 times out of 10 that I do get those cold messages because it's very very plain when it's a cold message. Hey girl, I've been seeing your page and I've been no, bitch, you haven't. No, you haven't. You want me to join your team? No, stop cold messaging because 9 times out of 10 I'll get those fucking cold messages that all sound the same and I will
hundred
reply
thousand
with
emojis.
something. I will reply with something like 10 times more sarcastic that they have no, then they a lot of them just don't reply back. They're like, uh what? I'm just I can't do it. It is so annoying. And I don't want to like put them down because I get that they're trying to do something. So I don't want to be a complete bitch to them when they slide in my DMs. But I do want them to realize like what you're doing is not working. Stop
I'm gonna
cold
slide in your
messaging.
DMs. Better look out.
Just don't cold message me.
It'll be a hot message. Trust me. Well, thank you for talking about a little bit about that. I find your business very intriguing, not just as your spouse and someone that watches you do these things, but I've purchased some of your equipment. I've have friends that often seek out you, and they're usually repeat buyers because you're making handcrafted things and they're high quality. I want to just commend you on having the courage and like I said before, the lady nuts, check the ovaries, you know what I'm saying,
Oh my
to head
God.
out there and really to really test yourself and find out how beautifully amazing that you investing in yourself and believing in yourself can be. You've done a great job, and I wish you nothing but continued success. How can people find you if they were looking to just see what you're all about?
You can just look up Get Cozy with Ree on Instagram, on Facebook. On Facebook right now, it's Rhiannon's Blanket Portfolio because I wasn't allowed to change it because Facebook,
It's Facebook.
because
I love
Facebook.
Facebook. It's so great.
But yeah, definitely check out my work if you guys are interested in beanies or blankets.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, I'll definitely try to put the link in the in the area under this. All right. Yeah, I definitely do enjoy your business. So I understand that you went through an excruciatingly painful and very difficult, thing that you persevered through, your knee injury last year. Can you tell me a little bit about what not necessarily how you got the injury, but what the injury was and the steps you took to come back from it? Because I happen to know a few people personally who've gone through the same thing and they're not anywhere near as healed as you are.
Well, I wish that they would have just done a full knee replacement, to be honest. I had the only reason that they didn't was because they were worried about arthritis later on in life, which I already have now anyways. So I wish they would have just done a full knee replacement. I think that my recovery time would have been months sooner. Um, I had a tore meniscus, a torn ACL, and a torn MCL. And then a couple of other like ripped tendons around, or maybe something. I don't know. I don't know. It was rough. When I looked at my MRI, they gave me a copy, and when I popped it in at home and looked at it, like you could just see it was like half of my knee was just like missing. It was like gone, and it looked like mush.
Ugh.
And so they had to take part of my hamstring to recreate my ACL and then
Wow.
put some buttons and some pins to restretch my MCL and my meniscus.
So they cut a part of your muscle
Mhm.
to heal part of your knee.
Yeah.
Wow, that's and that can be. I've been stabbed before. I know what it feels like to have your muscle cut, but I couldn't imagine having it heal that much muscle that they may or may not have taken from you.
And they used on
Took a
like
while.
they didn't do it. They did on all everything on the same leg. Like some people choose to have their hamstring from their other leg and use it for their ACL. I just want to do on one leg. I don't want to be out of commission for longer than what I had to be, and I already knew that it was going to be a long recovery because of the extensive surgery that they had to do.
Hmm.
So I did lots of physical therapy. I did 19 weeks of physical therapy, which actually it sounds like that's a lot, but it actually isn't a lot of physical therapy. I wish that I would have stayed in a little bit longer. I was in physical therapy right when COVID was starting to get really serious and the mask mandates had just come out. And so they were kind of, I don't want to say pushing me out the door, but kind of, like they were having to limit patient time and they were having to, I mean, this was like right in March, April area. So this was like right when shit really hit the fan at the very beginning of COVID. And so everybody was kind of freaked out about times and distance, and they didn't know what was what, and there wasn't a whole lot of regulations put out. And there was too many put out, and nobody knew what to follow. And so it just became really challenging and almost a waste of my time to be there because I didn't feel like I was doing anything that I couldn't do at home by myself. When realistically, I probably should have been doing more with my physical therapist than what we were allowed to do because of COVID. So they just kind of were like, well, this is what we can do. So here's your instructions. Go ahead and take it home. And if you feel like you can do this at home, then we don't need to do a lot of in-person visits. So I got bands and I did my hallway crawls and my monster walks, and I got a treadmill and I do my treadmill and I do my walks, my runs, my walk run, I do those things that I was doing in physical therapy, excuse me. Um, but 19 weeks isn't actually that long of a time with all the amount of surgery that I went through. And so it's pivoting is still, I mean, we just passed a year since I've had my surgery.
Congratulations. One year
On
anniversary.
January January 28th I had my surgery, and I still have trouble like doing long hikes. I can do my Meadowdale Beach Trail no problem. But at the end, at the end of the day, my knee is definitely sore. I can definitely feel my day on my knee now. And pivoting is still kind of a challenge. I'm still having to find different exercises and different things to help me strengthen my ability to pivot. Um, but things after knee surgery were a lot more difficult than I thought they were going to be. I'd never had surgery before, so when I went to the doctor, they just made it sound like, "Oh, no big deal. We're just gonna do this quick little knee surgery,
Mm.
and we'll have you in and out, no problem." I didn't realize it was gonna be months and months and months of having to do work, and it was frustrating to say the least.
Do you feel like it's made you a more mentally tough person?
Oh, 1000%. 1000%. And it definitely made me appreciate my independence.
Mm. I think that you're one of the most honestly independent people I know. I don't have anybody I can compare as more independent. You don't like being babied through a situation, and I think it was difficult for me to watch you feel like it was wrong to rely on other people for help.
Oh, it was hard.
But I can
Not
honestly
being
say
able
that
to get up and go to the bathroom by yourself for the first week after surgery was so, like, it was so hurtful for me. It was like, it was so hard. Um, it made me sad. It made me feel like I was losing my independence, like I couldn't do anything. Not to mention, because I was trying to be so independent and I was so fucking stubborn, you and everybody else that was there taking care of me would yell at me every time I tried to move to do anything. And it was so frustrating because you guys just cared and you wanted me to heal and not move like I was supposed to be doing. And I wanted to be better right now. I wanted to do things right now. I want to go on a 5K right now. I want to jump rope right now.
I see.
And I couldn't do that. I had to stay in a freaking bionic cast from like ankle to thigh for months. And it was rough. It was just really rough.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. You're a pretty independent person, and when you're a person who likes to be perceived as strong as well, it can really kind of dampen. It can send some clouds in that sunny sky of yours when you have to be helped doing something that is the simplest of tasks. And I really want to also commend you on your perseverance. Even after you got done with physical therapy, you continued to do things that would rehabilitate you. You have a low stress squat machine that we have down here. You have a step machine. You have a treadmill. You're doing things actively to make sure that the muscles around your knee are strengthened. You have goals. You have goals to hike, to snowboard, to accomplish things that you wanted to do in the year 2020. You're not letting these dreams die, because I see a lot of people who go through
No,
a
no,
hard
no.
time and
They're
these
not gonna
dreams
die.
just die.
They're just postponed
They're
right
just
now.
postponed.
They're just
Yeah.
a little postponed. We were supposed to do a family fun run right before my knee surgery, and we had to cancel it because it wasn't gonna happen, Captain.
Yeah,
It's
you
yeah,
had you had I think you had two major tears,
yeah.
ACL and MCL, and then you actually had a buckle tear is what I believe it's
Oh
called.
yes,
It's
yes,
when
yes,
your
yes.
meniscus gets
Like
pulled,
folds under
sucked off
itself.
the bone very excruciatingly, and it folds underneath the lower part of your, like where your, I don't know,
It looked like it
maybe it's a
like
tibia. I don't know
folded.
what it's called.
I don't know.
Your the lower part of your, like past your knee, and that it was folded under there. And every time I watched you walk, my heart sank a little bit,
Oh,
because I don't like seeing my best friend in pain or my wife in pain. I was pretty edgy with the world. So I'm glad you're back up to about 85%, and I look forward to continuing to hopefully help you get to 120% better than before is what the goal is. Really wondering how Did it postpone fitness goals for you? Because I know everybody looks at fitness. It's very personal. It's them. Could you tell me a little bit about did your goals be postponed by this? I know.
1000%. Not only was I not able to be in the gym like a normal person
Mhm.
or really even use my home gym that well, um, but my eating habits, I lived on Menchie's, you guys, for like a month.
Menchie's. What the fuck is Menchie's?
It's frozen yogurt.
Oh my god.
I
Is there dairy in it?
no, I don't think so
That's
because I'm
good.
lactose intolerant. It doesn't make me sick, so
I'm gonna get some Menchie's. Tell
I don't
Brian to
know.
get the fuck off and get
It is.
Menchie's.
Oh, I lived on Menchie's. Like, I mean, I would send you to the store. I would DoorDash that shit. I had
Hmm.
Menchie's all the time. I didn't want anything else but Menchie's and soup
And
and
so
sleep.
Menchie's and soup and sleep.
Yeah, that was it.
Were you depressed?
I think I got depressed. It took me a minute to get there. I think it took a minute for like it. I think probably after the second or third week, I started to get a little bit depressed because I couldn't do anything by myself without getting yelled at. Like,
Mm.
I felt guilty because my mom was taking time off of work. You were taking time off of work to take care of me.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were about to get a dog.
Yes.
This was right before we got Titus, and I was still on crutches, and I was worried about not being able to potty train him or give him, the amount of exercise that he needed to be a good pet owner, a good dog owner. I just started, but the plan was already in place before I had hurt my knee to get our dog, and so I thought for a minute that we were gonna have to just like cancel getting Titus, and I was so upset, and
We couldn't let that happen.
that kind of like started it, and then the whole shower thing, not being able to shower, not being able to
Reach down and tie your
reach
shoe.
down and put my pants on without being in excruciating pain, or bend down and touch my toes, or just like sit down normally to go to the bathroom, or sit down normally on the couch or on a bar stool. So, quarantine for you guys started March, April, May ish, right? But for me, it kind of started in January because I wasn't able to go. I couldn't even sit on like a regular stool or sit on like the little restaurant bench table things. I couldn't because my cast was like all the way up, like right under my ass cheek, basically. It was like from my ankle to my ass cheek was my cast.
The only thing that should be sitting there is short shorts. So
It was so bad, and it was rough, and so I just kind of had to lay on my couch
mm.
all the time. I had to stay off my foot or off my knee all the time and just let it stay in one place. And I'm a very busy person. If I'm not out doing something, I'm doing something in my home. I'm cleaning, or I'm painting, or I'm knitting, or I'm making a blanket, or I'm crocheting, or I'm always doing something. I'm out, out in the backyard or whatever. I'm always doing something. So for me to have to just sit, lay down, sleep, eat. For many that might sound like a vacation. For me, it was fucking hell.
Prison, yeah, it was prison.
It was fucking hell. I was like
Yeah.
I
So
didn't
it
know what to
definitely
do with
caused some serious
myself.
issues.
Yeah, I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know how to be, and I was in a really bad mood a lot of the time because this was super super new to me. And I couldn't do anything. And everybody else is talking about how a great day they had at work and how they got to do this and how they got to do that. And I guess what I got to do today, honey? I got to sit here on the fucking couch.
Well,
That's what I did today.
I think something was super interesting is how you kind of transitioned out of this initial thing. You couldn't do any running, but something you got into was this beautiful self defense journey. And it started off with us listening to a Tim Kennedy podcast, and you kind of just looked at me across the Jeep when we were driving. I think we were going to visit a family or something like that. And you looked over at me and said, "We got to get guns, and we got to start doing this stuff. We got to take our safety into our own hands
Yeah.
because there's." I'm not saying that police do not have an effective job. I'm not saying that they're all good. I'm not saying that any of them are. I'm not saying any of that. because it's not for me to decide. That's a situation based thing. What I am saying is that I cannot rely on the police to show up my house within a second and keep me safe in a moment, because everything from a gunfight to a child being taken happens within a matter of seconds. I do not need something that's going to respond in a matter of minutes to a situation that might really need to be
Require
require
something.
something faster,
Yeah.
right? So you and me kind of took responsibility in our own hands, purchasing firearms, uh, training to proficiency. We're just doing a lot of reps of the same basic shit, reloading, and listening to people that are better than us at this thing. Humbly listening
And
to
yeah, I was about to say, not taking offense to when people are trying to give you advice,
yes,
you know?
because this is life or death shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not meant to be nice or copacetic or smooth or like a ocean breeze. There's gonna be people that are like, listen, man, you're gonna fucking die if you make this mistake in a gunfight, or if you can't just shoot this person in the back as they flee your home, because then you're a murderer. Like, there's a lot of things that a lot of people don't take into consideration. What do you think are the three most important lessons you learned so far about taking life into your own hands and how to protect your home and your family, and what not to do and what to do? What's the three most important things you can say? Just
Well, first of all, I think it's important to, when you're explaining something to somebody, I think it's important to take into account of how they're going to receive it. Um, if you're like, don't fucking da 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 to somebody who is just trying to do their best and they don't know any better, and that could shy them away from everything and make them give up on it and be like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
obviously you're not
You know.
talking about pointing a gun
So
on somebody, because that's a whole nother story. But just like the basic stuff, right? Just so I can understand.
right, I just mean like when you're explaining just anything and you're coming at it in a abrasive way to
Hmm.
somebody who doesn't take abrasiveness well, they're not going to receive what you're saying. They're not going to receive what you're trying to explain.
I see.
Then everybody's time is wasted, right?
So understanding your
Understand your
person you're
audience.
teaching,
Yep.
or
Know
who
your
you're listening
audience.
to. Okay.
Know your audience for sure. But the main three things that I have learned honestly is if you're going to pull it out, you better fucking use it.
Okay.
So you're not just willy-nilly pointing a gun at somebody just because you want to scare them or just because you can or
Because you're scared.
because you're scared or whatever. You need to have the emotional training to have your emotions in check to be able to stay calm, cool, collected when you're in these high pressure situations. Another thing that I have learned is practice is everything. Practice with your aim, practice to stay calm, practice. Dry firing is extremely important. You and I do that a lot together. Dry firing is so important. Watching videos, which actually kind of the fun part is, watching a lot of YouTube videos, which everybody's like, what? Watch other situations. Look at, I mean, you can share with them a couple of channels that we watch.
Right now.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I know we definitely. Thanks for keying me in. We definitely watch active self protection on
yeah.
YouTube. It's kind of a badge cam and
Watch
self
them.
defense.
Watch them.
Listen,
Watch them.
this guy goes and breaks down what you can do legally and morally in situations, and what you shouldn't do, and also shows you lessons that police officers really fuck up, and because they're just humans as well, and times where they did the right thing and they saved a baby from choking, and or they do amazing things. And
Yep.
it tells about civilians, it talks about law enforcement officials, talk about some military situations as well. And then another one I listen to is Sheepdog Response.
Yeah.
Tim Kennedy is one of the most
Tim
superior
Kennedy's a
trainers out there,
fucking
and
badass.
he's a fucking badass. He's like the real Captain America. But there's a he started a program where, and they put out free information. Also, they have paid courses, but they put out free information where they go into how to perform a slide lock reload, when to perform a tactical reload versus an emergency reload, how not to leave your body exposed and stand there like an idiot when you're getting shot at, when to not shoot somebody is so much more important than when to shoot somebody, and
Or self
when
defense
not to
in,
pull it out,
in in
or
general, right?
when not to go hands on, when to close the distance, when to try to talk somebody down instead of escalating the situation.
Because you and I, we watch these videos like pretty frequently together, and then we
Mhm.
stop them a lot because we have a lot of questions, or you might want to explain something to me that I don't know, or I might have a question that I don't know, or
And I might not know it, so we
whatever.
have to go find out the truth.
Yeah. And so we spend a lot of time like watching these videos, and some of them are funny, some of them are whatever, but some of them are very, very serious.
Yeah,
And
it's sad a lot.
they really strike like a real, I mean, we live right down the street from two different Fred Meyers, and both of them have had robberies at
Abductions.
the banks, abductions. Well, the one at the ATM,
It was a murder. Yeah,
there was a
guy got
murder,
stabbed.
and then there was another robbery the next day, the very next day, not even a week later, the next day. And
Exactly.
then at the other Fred Meyer, you've got people getting kidnapped and abducted, and and
Exactly.
it's important to watch these situations and watch a lot of different ones.
Mhm.
Watch as many different situational videos as possible, and
Diversify.
yeah, and talk about it with somebody. Talk about it with somebody who knows more than you do. Ask your questions, figure out what is legal. Is it, if somebody has a gun to your head and then they get spooked and they run away and you run them over with your car, is it legal? Is it just? Is it morally right? Is it, you know
Mhm.
and the answers will probably shock you, more than likely piss you off.
Yeah, I get irritated sometimes as well.
Yeah, no, and it's something that you and I both get pretty passionate about, because Close Encounters has happened with both of us.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
one of the reasons that we were inspired to get our guns. I didn't even grow up in a household where guns were even allowed. And here I am, 25 years later, boom. I have a household full of firearms.
Oh yes, fuck yeah,
And
yeah. Good luck.
yeah, good luck.
Good luck. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things that you say. But I think it's great that you're opening up to this journey of self defense because our children are going to be safer for it. Police officers
Education is
respond.
everything.
Yeah, police officers respond. They're not a proactive security force, and community policing isn't something that civilians do or that
They're there to
people
respond,
do.
not
They're
to
there to
react,
respond.
right?
They're not there ready to rock. Like last time we called the cops, what happened? You had some motherfucker try to kick in our door basically and force his way into your home.
They're not a preventative team, they're a responsive team.
Exactly. But we had a person try to force his way past you into our home.
Yep.
And thankfully, you practiced the most discipline. You were in every right of shooting him, but you didn't. But you went hands on because he was way too close to you
Yep.
to even go into a draw. You shoved him outside, and then the cops showed up. What, 15 minutes later?
Yep.
15 minutes. He could have stabbed you, right? He could have done. There's unspeakable amount of things he could have
If
done.
I didn't react quick enough, he could have very easily have forced himself into my home, hurt myself, hurt grandma upstairs, hurt the kids, hurt anybody.
Anybody who could have been home, whoever was at our home at a time, they could have lost life.
Yep.
Or
And
friend.
there's videos, thankfully, that we had watched in where it had explained when you are home alone and you need to answer the door, or whatever ways that you can protect yourself, even just with answering the door.
Mhm.
So like when you answer the door, you make sure to have your foot as a stopper behind the door, so you open it just as much as you need to see who's there, see whatever, address whatever, and then if you need to, you kick that bitch back shut, right? You
Absolutely.
just but there's these little tiny things that you can do that it'll save your life, because seconds matter, seconds count.
So do we have like security cameras that you
Oh, we
would
have security
use?
cameras all over this bitch.
I don't want to fully break down our security measures
No,
for our home, obviously, in case
but
someone wants to try to
I
find out what they
do.
are.
We recommend home security. We recommend
Ring doorbell.
Ring doorbell. We recommend all around home security. We recommend floodlight security.
Security dogs or security
We
cats.
recommend security dogs. We recommend security by the Second Amendment. We recommend all of that. I mean, know your rights, know your worth.
Yeah.
Know your rights, know your worth.
Respect yourself, king. Shit like that. I think it's very important that you bring up the Second Amendment. I can't name a time where anyone telling you do not need a gun was a good idea. I've been involved in situations where I did not have a gun and I was being shot at, and I think the hardest thing I've ever had to do is deal with the death of a friend, in front of my face. It's not a fun thing to be in a gunfight without a gun, and when a government who does not have a proactive police force, which is already responding to a situation that is happening right now, they're so busy. Why do they take 15 minutes for an attempted force entry into your home? That is ridiculous, and we're expected on somebody who sits in an office who deals with nothing but paper and their great paycheck that our tax dollars provide
Yeah.
to tell you, me, the black woman in a shitty neighborhood
Whoever the
who's
fuck they
poor
feel like.
walking down the street, she can't have a pistol in her purse because it has more than 10 bullets in it. You know,
That's disgusting.
not a lot of people can aim well. I'm gonna be straight up. I've been to the range with people. Some of these motherfuckers cannot hit the broadside of a barn. So you know what? You might need more than 9 bullets. I know that I've watched
Can we just
videos. Yeah.
normalize women carrying firearms
Women carrying
too?
firearms
You know,
is so special.
women, like, we need to protect ourselves. Our husbands are not always going to be there. Our dad's not always going to be there. Our brothers are not always going to be there. It should not be left up to the men in your life to save your ass.
That's fucking right.
You need to save your own ass because nobody is coming to save you. Nobody. You have
Not
to
the police
save
either,
yourself.
sometimes.
And who says you can even call them? They can't, you know, who says you even have time in the heat of the moment to grab your phone and call and ask for help, you know, or be able to calmly. This is again where, you know, mental training and mental focus and, you know, trying to stay calm and keeping your emotions in check, where all that training kind of comes into play, because all that shit counts when this is going on. You know, the time that you take to freak out counts. The time that you take to fumble and fuck up counts. The time that you it all counts.
When you get your OC, your pepper spray that is caught up in, that it's in a holster with like one of those buttons, one of those snap buttons to seal the holster.
Yeah.
That has a safety on the OC spray that's in the bottom of your purse behind 10 papers, and your smaller purse that's also inside your purse, a little clutch that's inside the normal purse, and you're trying to fumble it down to get it while somebody is actively trying to rape you or to stab
or to steal
you,
your car,
or to steal the purse with the OC in it, or to harm your child. All these things, milliseconds count, seconds count, and if you're man or woman, you can be raped. And I encourage everybody who hears this, anybody who doesn't hear this, anybody who hears it and wants to tell your friends, please keep yourself safe, because there's no one that's going to stop a criminal from being a criminal.
And have a plan.
No laws work.
Make a plan. Make sure you have a plan. Like if I'm in my car, for instance, and someone is trying to rob me, or if I'm at the ATM, if I'm at the drive-through ATM and somebody comes up and they're they're trying to rob me, I don't want to actually use my firearm in that instance, because it's point blank and I don't know what's behind them. I might not have time to look. I don't want to hit a kid. I don't want to hit anybody behind them. I don't want to hit anybody but what I'm trying to hit, right?
And you can gas it. You can floor it.
You can do that, but just in my car, right? If I'm outside of my car, I'm carrying my weapon, right? But inside my car, and something happens, I have both OC spray and I have a taser, and I have them both in reaching distance so that I can grab my pepper spray, spray them with my right hand, and I can tase the shit out of them with my right hand if I absolutely need to. But that way this OC spray allows me to create some distance. It's a little bit of distraction. It gives me some time to get the fuck up out of there, right?
And you want to make sure that you rolled out all the windows in the car if you do spray OC, so you don't
fuck yourself and crash your car.
I fucked. That shit burns like Satan pissing in your eyes.
Yep.
Man, tough day for whoever bothers you, for sure.
Just have a plan. Just make sure to have a plan. It's just important to have a plan of action, you know, especially as a woman, especially as just a human in society these days. You know, there's a lot of opportunities out there, and if they see an opportunity, they're gonna fucking take it. So don't make yourself an opportunity.
And I have a question for you. I'm gonna ask this to all people I have on this podcast. Do criminals follow laws? Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because I just would like to go over something. As you know, your brother Tanner, there was a person with a firearm at his school, right? And it was they were locked down for 6 hours. I know it kind of hits home. What do you think that the gun-free signs did that day?
Not a goddamn thing.
And it's really, I'm very passionate about
cameras
this because
and signs. We've been in this shit. They keep honest people honest, but the criminals, they don't give a fuck.
Yeah, they're there to take advantage of people. They're there to be evil.
If all you had to do was post a fucking sign or make a fucking law in a book that says you can't do this, you think they're not going to do it? No, they're like fucking children. That makes them want to do it more.
I think that they're on their own agenda, and they're not thinking outward. They're thinking inward. And
those are the opportunists I was talking about.
Absolutely. I think it's really important that we just, since we're on the topic, we touch about that. We've been hit home by a lot of instances that have been terrifying, and there were near misses. And thank God for whoever the fuck is looking out for us, because it could have been
We got some
horrible.
guardian
We
angels
had
for sure.
some guardian angels. I don't know if everybody's religious or not, but we got somebody watching for sure, and I'm thankful for it, because your brother could have died that day along
Yeah.
with a bunch of kids and criminals. It's this. I think this might be more than a mental health issue. I think this might be more than a spanking your kid issue. I think it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Oh, this is why we just spank kids. No, shut up. We need to really take a look at a society, how we protect our children, because criminals do not follow gun laws, and we really need to make sure that we are doing things to prevent our children from being killed, because they're the future, and we don't want anybody fucking up our communities as a criminal at all. Criminals should not be in our communities. So, it's really interesting, and I'm happy that we got a little talk about that a little. But it's really interesting and infuriating to me a lot of times, because we have this, as a society as a whole, we have this weird false sense of security, where you see a security guard and you're like, oh, it's safe, and then I'll look around the corner and there's somebody shooting up right in front of two kids.
I'm about to say, not always. A lot of security guards at a lot of these places are completely useless.
Completely useless.
They're just there for show.
And they're there to get a paycheck, like a lot of police officers. I saw a police officer that could physically, I could know for a fact that they would not be able to physically defend themselves from a situation, from anybody in any who wanted to harm them at all. And it was kind of tragic. It's kind of tragic to see somebody who might be put in a position that they need to save somebody's life. You need to run to that child and pull them out of a house fire, even though that's not your job description. You might not be able at that moment to be the hero that the world needs. And I grew up wanting to be a police officer. I still might, it's one of my plan B's or C's or D. What, I don't know where it is in the line of plans.
One of the plans.
It's one of the plans, but I think that as community members, we need to start thinking small and stop looking for the president or the legislative system, the Congress, everything all the way down to our governor. None of these people are
You ever heard that
actively
term? It
representing
starts
us.
at home.
Yes, it does start at home.
That applies to everything. It starts at home. It starts within our community. Starts within our city, and within our state, within our
it all has to start with the man or woman in the mirror, or whatever you choose to identify as. I'm not here to discriminate. It's really important that we all look at our neighbors and stop looking at them as Trump supporters, Joe Biden supporters, and or who's the other one? Who's the libertarian candidate that ran?
Jo Jorgensen.
Jo Jorge, love her. Whoever your political affiliations do not necessarily mean that's who you are. You might make an informed decision based off of what might benefit you. I know there was an amazing summit for Black leaders in a certain area of Atlanta, Georgia, called the Revolt Summit before the election, and we had people like Big Crit, T.I., Candace Owens, and a few other people who are representatives of different, very, very different spectrums, mind you, have a very good, honest argument. No rules about you can't swear, anything like that. They broke down these boundaries of society, and they had a straight up, honest conversation about what can benefit their. Atlanta's very, I don't know if you know, it's very Black filled. And I'm not trying to say that that's a bad thing or a good thing. They had these community leaders come out and talk that represent different groups of political spectrum, religious spectrum, all these things. And they had a serious, no bullshit conversation, kind of like we're having right now, just talking about things. I think we're not having that. We're all sitting in our house throughout the entire year of 2020. We all are scared of this virus that's killing our elderly and are physically unable to defend themselves on an immune level. We're having people lose their lives, and it's really sad that we can't talk to each other, and we have social media spiraling all of us out of control and forgetting the importance of conversation, to talk to another person and bounce ideas off each other instead of just having an echo chamber. And we really seriously got to make sure that as a group, you and I talk to our neighbors, We talk to our people that we have
I
on
think we've done
Facebook.
pretty good at that. I think it's important to, know your neighbors, knock on their door, bring them some cookies, bring them a bottle of wine, whatever it may be. I think it's important to get to know your neighbors, and I mean,
Absolutely.
we have a pretty good relationship, I think, in our neighborhood.
I know our next door neighbors, they're hardcore Biden supporters. And I had a great conversation with them, and I learned a lot about why they feel they made a good decision when they voted. Um, Unfortunately, at the same time, their brother was just laid off. He was working at the pipeline industry when that thing happened. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's a good or bad thing. All I know is that their brother isn't working in there, and now they're enraged. I don't think that we can put faith in any political party because it's a group of people. They're going to vote against the other group of people. When we start putting faith in our communities, in our neighbors, in our not necessarily a neighborhood watch, but when I look out diagonally, I have a group of children that live in front of us. I have a group of children that live to the left of us, and their mom's a single mother.
Yep.
And she's also a teacher.
Yep.
And you had a time where you kind of stepped up to the plate where you saw something that was a little off. And you want to kind of open up a little bit about that?
I mean, we live in a type of neighborhood where everything is good for the most part. I mean, we live on a pretty busy street. We have a lot of joggers, we have a lot of walkers, we have a lot of kids, we got a lot of dog walkers.
But it's usually the same ones.
But it's usually the same ones. Like, it's very busy, but it's a familiar busy. Like, you notice everybody, you recognize things, right? And when something's out of place, or something seems weird, or something seems off, it's very easy to spot it. And we live in one of the few neighborhoods left in our community where kids play outside until dark, and they jump on the trampoline until it gets too cold outside, or it gets too dark, or whatever, and kids are riding their bikes, and they're walking their dogs, and they're playing out in the street. I don't see that a whole lot, and I love that about our neighborhood. And I'll be damned if I'll let anybody, because one of these days is going to be our kids out in our front yard playing.
Absolutely.
Playing with our dogs, riding their bikes, learning how to, do all the outside fun things that kids should be outside doing. I went outside to check the mail, and there was a car parked right in front of our neighbor's house, and she's got a big tree to where it blocks her vision to see out. And her kids were outside playing, and there was a guy parked right in front of the kids. I mean, right there, right in front of where the kids were playing, and he's got his phone out, and he's like, I don't know what he's doing with his phone. To me, it looks like he's recording. To me, it looks like it's whatever it is, it's none of his business. Mm-hmm. And he didn't need to be there.
So he was within their home area.
He was like on their property. Okay. Like, he was like, there's like, I don't know. I don't want to like give too much about, our neighbor's home,
Thank
but
you for not doing that.
There's
So he was like up in their shit.
He was like very very apparent at the fence. Like, to me, I would, if I were to see it and that's me and you're watching my kids, like, I'm gonna go out there pretty fucking hot. Like, it was enough to make you extremely uncomfortable and send chills down your spine.
So what happens in that moment when you get these chills? What does your brain scream at you? Because I know you're a very special person. I've never known you to freeze up in an instance of where it's time to rise to the occasion. What do you I know me personally, my heart starts beating slower. I don't get excited. I get my ears turn. Yeah, my ears heat up.
Definitely, there's like a slowing of like time, and my ears get a little red, and I kind of get this like what the fuck feeling. Like, this is wrong, And so I just stood there and I watched, and I made him I tried to make him as uncomfortable as possible, because I wanted him to know that somebody else is watching. And when that didn't seem to do anything or shake him, I just went right up there.
Okay, so you noticed that this person did not. He was shameless. So he was shamelessly, just so I can understand, he was shamelessly
like recording these kids.
Recording kids. So he had his phone raised, like obviously everybody knows what it looks like when you're recording.
Yeah.
he was up against a fence
Yeah.
watching them and taking pictures
Yeah,
or
and it was
videos or
like an
some sort.
older gentleman. He definitely had like gray hair. Like it was an older gentleman.
Yeah.
And so the first thing I did was take a picture of his car and
You got his
his
plates and
license plate.
everything?
Yep, got his
Okay.
plates, got his car, make, model, all of that. I tried to get a picture of him, a good, you know.
To show where he was, position, angle, and things like
Yep,
this.
try to get a good picture of him so that later because I didn't have time to go and knock on her door before I had time
You
to
had to
go and be
confront this
like, hey, what the
motherfucker.
fuck, right? So,
Got you.
I just walked up and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? And he didn't say anything. He just gets back in his car and he takes the fuck off.
So
He didn't do anything. So then later, he came back. Like not even, I don't even want to say later. I would say like a couple of minutes. He came back.
all right. So wow. So just so I can go over the steps that you took, and I know you're not a person of of slowing down to think. You're more of an acting person,
Yeah.
and you act straight from your heart,
Yeah.
and you act based off the experience you had with your training and stuff. So you confronted an individual, and he proceeded to flee. How long were you paying attention afterwards? Because I know that when things like this happened with me, because I had a similar instance, about a week before this, and I stayed there in our driveway for about 2 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and I came out every time this motherfucker drove back again. It was
Mm-hmm.
very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
How long were you out there after the initial event?
I mean, when the initial event happened, I went up, I asked him like what he was doing. He got in his car and he left. Like he like peeled off, left. And then at that point I went and knocked on the neighbor's door and said, "Hey, this is what just transpired. Like this is what just happened." And she was of course like freaked out, upset. At While I'm explaining what had just happened, he drives by again. Slow enough to where I'm able to point and again try to make him feel very uncomfortable and point and yell like, "Hey, that's him." So I wanted to make him
Let him
again
know
that
it's
somebody's
kind of
watching,
like
somebody's paying
screaming at a
attention.
person who is watching a child in a parking lot. Very
Yeah.
similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like I wanted the neighbors to be aware. I wanted that neighbor to be aware. I wanted him to be aware that we were watching. I just wanted everybody to be aware of the situation. And then he quickly drove by because he started to drive by a little bit slow, like kind of looking for the kids, I think, and then took off again once I started yelling.
Yeah.
And then
You sound like a fucking coward to me.
yeah, took off again. And so she took pictures, she had called the cops, and then I kind of hung out outside for an hour or so and just kind of watched. And
You talk with
you
her a
know
little bit, help her kind of console her, or like was she pretty just
not really.
angry,
She
or
was pretty angry and then kind of hands-on of trying to figure out what to do to keep her kids safe.
so she
Like
took action?
yeah, she was like, "Thank you for the information, thank you, da da da." Like and then she did what she thought was best for her kids and her safety in her home.
I got you. What do you? Did she have like? I don't want to be all up in her shit but I don't know. Did she have security cameras or anything like that to associate your experience with and base it off of? Like we have security cameras, so if somebody walks by our house, they're like getting about 1,080
I don't think
on their face,
she
so I
had
can
them
see.
then, but I think she certainly has them now.
Well, that's good. I think it's important for every home to have a way of explaining a situation to happen or to catch an event as it goes on. I know you and I have had prowlers late at night, and what do?
Yep.
I head outside with my flashlight that has a gun attached to it for some reason, and more ammo just in case, because criminals usually act in bigger groups, and I'm not going to let somebody impose their ill will upon my household.
I definitely recommend the Ring. I mean, it comes with the Ring app, which has the Ring community, and you can set your parameters for how far away or close you want to get notifications for. But it's a really good way of staying up with what's going on in your community, whose car got broken into, how far away it was. A lot of the people on there actually piss me off because they're really rude to people that are posting stuff like, "This is a waste of time. This is a waste of time."
Be rude to other people who are
It's not a waste of time. I think that anything big or small, if something's off in your community, you should want to know about it.
Absolutely.
Period. Because things escalate. Like it might just be a stupid peeper that you think, but what if it turns into a burglary?
Oh, and it does.
That's how it starts out. I think a lot of people don't realize that things start out really minuscule and they grow into something bigger. And so, yeah, you might be scolding someone for posting a 30-second clip of somebody just looking in their windows, but they didn't break anything, they didn't take anything. So what? That is somebody on your property that should not fucking be there.
I see.
And so, yeah, maybe they're just peeping in a window. Are they peeping in on kids' windows? Are they peeping in on elderly
Are
people?
they a child predator or a registered sex offender
Are they
who hasn't
looking to
registered?
see what is available for them to take so that they can break in? Like, nobody is just looking in a window that they shouldn't be fucking looking in.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, we all have nosy neighbors sometimes,
Yeah, but this
there's
isn't
a
the fucking
there's a
80s
thin
anymore. You know
fine
what I
line.
mean?
You don't want a peeping tom turning into an armed home invasion is something that a few of my friends have been involved in on the receiving end, and it's really sad because I don't want to downplay how severe rape is, but the closest thing a child is going to experience to rape is their place of
Their
tranquility
home being invaded.
being invaded,
Yeah.
and it's not being safe anymore.
There's no peace.
There's no peace.
Yeah.
I think
There's no safe zone.
there's no your temple has been broken into, and
Yeah.
I like I said before, I'm not trying to downplay the severity
No,
of
no,
rape.
of course not.
A lot of people take things that I say and kind of run with them in a direction that I don't mean, and so I just try to re-clarify.
I just think that, like, in the sense of being violated, of
Yeah.
having everything that you know and love and that you have peace and trust and tranquility just being completely raided and violated.
Yeah, it's not the exact same, but it's very close in my opinion, because I've had my home broken into, and
Yep.
I actually got interrogated by by the beautiful sheriffs up their sheriff department up there near Marysville, and they interrogated me for the robbery of my own house because I was the only black kid on the street, or on the street that I lived in Granite Falls, which was cool. I'm cool with that. You know what? If you want to be a bigot, that's up to you. And I told him, I said, I know why I'm here. I'm not stupid, and you're pathetic, and I'm not detained, and I'm leaving. So
And
I
you're
left.
free to go at any time.
So I left, and it's just to go, like I said before, not all cops are good. Not all cops are bad though. So enough of the kind of the dark stuff. What's in the future for you? I know you're an extremely brilliant person. There's a lot of
Thank you.
qualities about you that captivate me, including your eyes. I'm not gonna get into it. Anyway. Sorry about that. Getting turned on over here. Are there children in your future? A
Of
lot of people are
course.
asking, when are you and your husband gonna have babies?
When we fucking feel like it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I like that answer. No, a lot of people really want to know what are some goals to pass. What are some checks in the box you need to have on your checklist of a baby?
Well, I was born to be a mom. I wholeheartedly believe that I was definitely born to be a mom, and kids are in our future. You know, kids are a beautiful, 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 beautiful blessing.
Mhm.
And I think it's important to shape and care about the shape and how you form the type of human that they end up being and what they contribute to society. And so for me, my boxes that I need to be checked is, as much self-development as possible beforehand, like I was talking about working on lashing out, about working on, anger issues, or working about communication, excuse me, working on all of those things to help you be a successful teacher and a successful learner, because I don't think that the learning ever stops. I think that you can learn something from anybody, smaller or bigger than you. Like you can learn. I learn things from my dog sometimes, like the learning never stops. And I think that the second that you think that it does is when the fuck up starts.
Okay.
And so I think a lot of self work, things like that, as much self development as possible is really, really important to me, so that you know, I'm able to communicate as a parent with my child in a very calm way without freaking out or cursing at them or yelling at them or just sending them to their room. Like, I really want to have a healthy communication with my kids. I think that's what all parents want with their kids.
I don't think you can ever be really ready for marriage, for
You just
anything
got to
in
jump
life.
in.
I think you can't you do have to dive in,
Mm-hmm.
but I know you and me, like we're trying to set up our kids the best way financially,
Well, we dove into our
morally, all
future
these
before we
things.
dove into our children, you
Well,
know?
yes, we definitely set our we kind of set we built we're building a nest
Yes.
for our little eggs to hatch in,
Yes.
to say, instead of putting them in one basket like some people that I know do. I think a mistake a lot of people make is saying, "Oh, well, I'm married. I'm going to have babies, and life's going to be just fine." It does. Nothing's going to be just fine. But you can put in positive integers to make those not so fine days a little bit better. Like not having to stress about living paycheck to paycheck is a big thing for me. So, like I'm really into the stock market right now, and tracking it as it changes, making good decisions versus bad decisions. Putting in these parameters when to sell with Webull, and being in cryptocurrency on Robinhood. Those are the small things I'm doing. We're debt free now. We own 3 vehicles. We are about to have our own house. We've renovated the downstairs. We're going to renovate the upstairs and then move most of our stuff upstairs,
And we didn't take out a loan to do it.
and we did not take out a single
Mm-mm.
loan to do it. We have a jacuzzi that we're going to be fixing in our backyard. We're in the middle of getting ready to drop trees and plant the new lawn. There's a lot of things that we're doing
To
to make
prepare
our
for our
home
future. I mean,
perfect, right?
that's part of what we're doing to prepare to become parents is we want to have a home for them to grow up in and love. We want them to have dogs to grow up with and love. We want um, to be financially stable. And I think a lot of people that have been impatient with our baby making skills have
Oh, I think we got the making down. It's just the having. The having is still
um
working on.
a lot of them are like there's no perfect time to have a baby. I've heard that so much. And maybe you know what, maybe that's true. You can't plan a perfect time. You know what? No, maybe I can't, but I can certainly fucking try.
Yes,
And
or
if that's more
mhm.
than what anybody else has done is just try to plan for the right time, well then that's what it is.
Yeah, and I don't look. I try not to look down on anybody for anything they do because it's their life.
Yeah.
I don't like it when people look down on me personally for the decisions that I make, because I know what it's like to grow up and be stressed the fuck out when your mom says you can't afford something at the time.
Yeah.
That had a lasting effect on me. If I don't have $1,000 in my bank account at all times, I will literally have anxiety attacks on the way to work, and coming back from work, I'll be scared to come home. I'll literally be sitting down the street parked, and it's kind of scary the effect that can have on people. So I think that what you're doing, uh, branching out, starting your own business, something that you can do from home on your time that you create using your self love and self discipline and your belief and faith in yourself. I think you're setting your children up the best way you can for success, and I hope that I continue to make good decisions as well, and they kind of meet in the middle, and then bloop, baby pops out. I know it doesn't look like that, but
Just and try to be mindful. I know that everybody is super excited about us having kids and things like that, and you might have somebody in your life right now that you are excited for them to start their family and start their journey. Just be mindful and respectful of the fact that it's their journey.
Mhm.
You don't know what people are going through. You don't know if they've had a miscarriage. You don't
Or
know if
seizures.
if they have medical problems like seizures that they are desperately trying to work through to be able to start a family, to be able to be parents. And my medical's trials and tribulations have definitely set me back in my time frame of wanting to be a mom. And it's not something that I talk about a lot, something that I like to talk about a lot. It's a very emotional roller coaster to go through. And so now I am very careful because I've had all of these things happen to me. I have had a miscarriage. I have, been set back because I wasn't able to do things because of my seizures and trying to figure I don't want to be pregnant and have a seizure and lose my child and go through another miscarriage. I'm having to be very careful and walk on eggshells when it comes to trying to be a mom. And so I just want to, just be mindful when you're pushing family and you're why aren't you guys doing this? Why aren't you guys doing that? Us women, we laugh it off and we It's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Just be mindful that you don't know how long that they've been praying for their time too. And be mindful and respectful that they are on their own journey. I guess that's my only really advice out there to people that are wanting to, they're excited, and it's great that you are excited, and it's great that people are excited for us, and we are going to have overwhelming support when we finally are blessed enough to have a child.
Absolutely. Or a few.
Or a few.
Maybe even 20.
I would love to have lots of little Eddie and Rhiannons running around just as much as everybody else would. But everything takes time. Everything takes work. Everything takes practice. Everything. But God has a plan. We have a plan, and somewhere in the middle, we'll make that shit work.
Absolutely. I think that's a beautiful way to put it. I wanted to offer you again my condolences for losing a potential child. That's not something that's easy to go through, and I feel like a lot of women that I know personally don't talk about it.
And it's so common, you guys.
I'm scared. I'm scared for
it
people
was
not
so
talking about
common.
it.
Yeah, no, I didn't talk about it for months. Months afterwards. It wasn't until I started reaching out to just like people here and there that I trusted, and just like letting them know here and there, like this is what I've gone through. This is, whatever. And 9 times out of 10, well, maybe 8 times out of 10, they've actually experienced the exact same thing. And so I kind of took comfort. Not well, yes and no, took comfort, but didn't. It's
terrible.
It's a terrible thing, but it's good to know that you are not alone in those instances. And so, yeah, I mean,
Are you hopeful for the future? I mean, I know that
oh yeah,
we've
oh
talked
God, yeah,
about having babies.
yeah.
Probably every single day since you and I met in high school, fucking high school sweethearts and shit.
No, babies are definitely in the future. We had to take some time. We had to take some time to figure some shit out, and we had to figure out what was going on with my body, figure out, what we wanted for our future, and it really gave us some time to figure out what we really wanted. I think taking time to figure out what you want is so important. We're going on almost being together for 10 years.
Absolutely.
And we're still learning things about each other every single day. We're still planning. We're still in the middle of doing everything, and 10 years together, and we're just beginning. We're just starting.
And we didn't have any major financial support either. I know that
no,
you and I
we didn't come from shit. Neither one of us had trust funds or savings or anything. We didn't. We had our first jobs at grocery stores.
Yeah, and then I left for the Navy, and then that they paid like a debt. They pay you as much as you would pay the lowest person in a different country that doesn't have minimum wage. So I think every single person that's active duty in the military is underpaid, undervalued as well,
and overworked,
and also their mental health is left to the wayside. We have a lot of active duty suicide, especially in the Navy. I could not imagine how combat roles add to that list in the Marines and the Army, and every single special forces unit out there. They have my heart going out to them 24/7. There are heroes who will do things that you couldn't fathom doing to other human beings who are actively and trying to harm you for just being a white American or a black American or any American. Even if you live in the area,
people want to harm you these days for having opinions.
Exactly. So there's a lot of countries out there that will behead you for being gay or for speaking out against what they believe in, and it's really kind of scary. Thankfully, I got to come home the other day. There was a fucking pipe bomb down the street from where I worked.
Oh my God, that was terrible.
And my buddy was there, and I called him after work, and I was just so overwhelmed because I thought there could be a secondary, there is the possibility of having a secondary incident. And the news is silent about it. It was a fucking attempted terrorist attack.
Domestic or not, it's a fucking terrorist attack. Yeah.
And no one's talking about it, and I just feel so confused because why did it happen? Who did this? Who wants to harm other people?
It doesn't fit the media's agenda. Why would they?
I'm talking about in this bitch. I'm talking about it. I wasn't concerned about me. I don't get scared from situations very often.
You're very selfless like that. You're worried about everyone else.
I was just worried about not being able to see you and not being able to have kids. it's as scary as it sounds. There's a lot of people who can't have kids, and a lot of people who are laying in their hospital bed right now begging God for another chance at life that they're
Yeah.
not going to get.
Yeah.
And I don't want to waste my life not living because someone else hates me because we live in a world who has capitalism that has you the opportunity to make more money. And I'm blessed with a job where I am making more money than I ever made. Like I cry when I get my paycheck sometimes because I'm so emotionally excited to be able to say I'm a provider for my family, and my wife
Yeah.
can provide for me as well with her
You're a
small
wonderful
business. And
provider. You're
thank
a
you, honey.
wonderful husband. You're a wonderful partner. You're a wonderful friend.
I think it boils down to what you said, being self-aware and taking steps to try to be better.
Absolutely.
All right. So, the Navy. You were subject to one of my decisions that I've really struggled with over the years, and it ended up with you being a geobatch in a geobatch situation, with you being here back in Washington while I was stationed wherever I was stationed, and it was a very very difficult, dark time, and there was a lot of positives, and every moment with you was very very precious to me. Um, but I think I got kind of squandered by the distance that I was going to return to every time. At times we were 3,000 miles away with 3 hour difference, which is a lot better than a lot of other veterans and a lot of other active duty people who are currently experiencing. A lot of people are stationed in countries where there is no service, there is no Wi-Fi. They're forward deployed in combat areas. And I'm not trying to take away from that. I'm just talking about our personal situation. What is the most important thing that you learned from being separated? I mean, there's obviously a million running questions running through your mind. Some people cheat when you're in a different fucking area code, let alone different state or a different country. And I'm thankful enough to say that I did not do anything to try to forcefully break our trust, like start a relationship with somebody else while I was away from you. And I really was so excited to get back to you every single time. So what holds what glues a relationship together when time and distance start ripping it apart?
You know, there's a bond that you and I share that is very special. And I don't even know a way to even describe it. But I mean, first of all, let's just set the tone. I mean, you were 18 fresh out of high school and I was 16 years old,
Mm,
still in high school when you left, right?
yes.
So, we're in a new but not really new relationship, but I mean,
Yeah, we've been together for about a year before I left, right?
when you're 16, a year is a lifetime, right?
Oh God.
So, that first of all, being so young and having to just understand, because I was mad at first, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I was angry, and I think I was angry because I didn't understand. It I wasn't angry anymore once I understood, and once because it's not something that we just talked about. It was one of those things where you walk in the door and you were like, "Hey, honey, guess what I did today? I enlisted for the United States Navy." It's not like there was a leading up conversation to, it happened, and then you were going and you had your enlistment date and you had your boot camp date, and that's we kind of were rolling with the punches from there. And
To provide a little background, I my situation was a unbearable situation that I was currently in. It was a very toxic situation. I'm not going to go into it too much on this one because
in
I want to talk with you about
in
it.
in your
And I
home
had to
life,
fucking
right?
go. I had to fucking
In
leave.
your home life,
Yes.
yeah.
Everything about my life was very unstable. But only thing that was stable is you. So like I had to escape, and it was going to be two options uh,
I didn't realize the severity of the situation.
at that time.
Yeah, at that time. I mean, we
We
were
were young. We
kids.
were young and in
We were
love. We
fucking
were best
babies,
friends. Who
you know? I was just all I knew was that I was losing my best friend and I was pissed,
yeah.
And it took me some time and it took us many of conversations, to really for you to break down your walls so that I could understand and for me to be open-minded and not angry anymore to be able to listen and receive it.
It must take a lot of faith and trust in someone to have these conversations in hindsight after the decision's already been made across the literally across the United States. Virginia is a long way away,
Yeah.
3,000 miles. I think it's
Yep.
like 3,041 from where I
Mhm.
was stationed to your house
Mhm. That
at the
was yeah.
time. And how much
I had
does that
everybody
play
and their
into it?
fucking brother in my ear talking about how you're gonna cheat on me, how you're gonna do this, how you're gonna do that, and I just started. I was like getting upset about it at first. And again, I'm 16 years old, and so doubt is super easy to put in a 16-year-old girl's mind, And I just started getting irritated because my mom just kept telling me, Rhiannon, don't listen to those fuckers. Don't listen to them. If you feel like this is who you're supposed to be with, if this is what you feel is right, then you do what you think is right. And
See,
we talked. I think boot camp was probably the hardest because that was the longest period of time that I wasn't able to actually
hear
like
my
speak
lovely
to you
voice. I
and
know.
and hear your voice. That one was hard. That was a hard 8 weeks of like not. I mean, I didn't get your letters all like when you sent them. I got them like all at one time at the end. So
Bulk send.
there was like 8 weeks I didn't hear anything, and I was like, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what you were thinking.
You
I
probably
didn't
didn't even
know.
know if we were in a relationship anymore.
No, I didn't know.
Uh,
I didn't even know if we were still
yeah,
together.
look
I didn't
out!
know anything.
I met some attractive guy from Georgia
Oh
in
my god.
camp. Look
I
out!
was like, I was tripping out, and then I finally got that phone call after school. I finally got the phone call, and
I'll never forget how your voice sounded. You were
it
so
was
ecstatic.
oh my god, it was like the biggest sense of like relief that I got to finally hear your voice, and like you still wanted to call me and you still wanted to be with me and you still love me, and I was freaking out, 16-year-old freaking out. My boyfriend called me and I'm super excited, right?
You're crying. I think you asked me like 4 times if I was gonna leave you throughout the 10-minute phone call. No, I was up. We were talking for like I was talking for you like 35 minutes, I think, because that's all they gave us. Like
Yeah.
I could have played video games and ate pizza, but I called
No.
you and I starved. And I was like I was gonna talk to her, so I called you and then I called. Oh God, I think I called maybe Cody and maybe Devin, and that's it. Like I
Yeah.
really didn't. I didn't have a support system, and
Yeah.
it was kind of it sucks saying that. That was kind of
Well,
weird,
you had me.
but I had somebody
You had my
who I had
mom.
faith in, which is you.
Yeah.
I had faith in our relationship and our trust that we shared, and I think that really helped me get through it. But what helped you? What was it? Did you trust me? Did you just go out on a whim of love? What was it? This weird thing that told you to trust and have faith.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes back to like our undescribable bond. I just knew. Like I just knew. And then on top of that, like I mean, at the time this didn't really happen, but now like years later, now that you aren't in the Navy anymore, I have so many people that I've come in contact with that have so much respect for you because of your faithfulness and because of your loyalty and because of, the way that you talk about me and the way that you describe me to other people. Like I take a lot of pride in that, and you should too. Like the way that you talk about me and the way that you describe me to other people, it's a good feeling that I wish I would have had back then, because I think it would have made like given me a more of a sense of security. um but that's hard. I mean, we were kids. We were just trying to grow and figure it out, and we figured it out fast. We figured it out because we had to. We figured it out because we loved each other, and that was I loved you, and I didn't see my life without you. I didn't see my future without you, and I didn't want to. And
Do you think
so,
a lot of relationships lack that when they enter the military? That bond, they're just together on a surface level. There's not really a deep connection that they share to
yeah.
sustain it. Because I've watched horrific people do horrific
This
things.
wasn't just like my boyfriend going off to the military. Like this was my best friend.
You know,
Like
you were my
you
entire
were
world.
like
So
my best friend that I spend every possible available moment with up until I was told I couldn't. Like the like you were my best friend. You weren't just my boyfriend. And
we
I
talked about
think
everything. We shared
everything. Like
our lives together.
we're just as open of a book then as we are now.
I absolutely agree.
And so I don't know, there was just like a bond and like a friendship, and like so I just I didn't think that my friend was gonna could do that to me, you know. And then boom, here we are
And
now.
then I didn't. You dumb motherfuckers who said I would cheat. You fuck. No, I'm joking. No, but I'm not. Fuck you guys. I think it's so special that people have an opportunity to prove other people wrong. Uh, it's great. I think it's the American way. I mean, it's part of the American way. You revolt against things that are wrong.
Do you remember what my
You
senior quote was?
At his best. No, no, I did not.
Do everything that everyone said you couldn't do.
I think that is something that really. That's the first senior quote that I ever heard that absolutely mattered. Because it's a real thing,
Yeah.
and I think it's you should prove people wrong, not because they tell you you're wrong, you can't do it, but because if you really
Not
want
in
to do
like an
it, you're gonna
egotistical
do it.
manner, but
If you
in
really want
a
to do it, you're gonna do it.
yeah.
If
Yeah.
if they tell you you can't, on top of that, it gets a little bit sweeter. You know what? Fuck them. So I try not to be negative. Is all, of course, just for joking. You know, but I really think there's something so special about what you said. Do everything that everyone said you can't. There's a very good quote that I got, and I'll never forget. On my 16th birthday, I got taken out to buy on a shopping spree, and I bought this $200 pair of jeans that I didn't know was $200, and it had this wooden piece of bamboo that was inscribed on it. It says, "Don't let this world tame your heart. Um, be the hunter, and not the hunted."
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, you should not let anybody else in the entire world try to help you, shy away from who you can be, what you want to do, and just go fucking do it. And there's no reason why, if you don't want to be in a relationship with somebody and you're leaving on a huge venture and you're going to go career, as they call it, go career, but don't leave a trail of deception in your wake.
Right.
You have to have that open communication, and I think that we did that. There were times where our relationship was tested, not by us, by other people, in ways that I had never thought it was physically, like, logically possible for people to have thoughts of, oh, let's try to break up a couple that has love between them. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. And thankfully that you kind of opened my eyes to that, because there's snakes everywhere that I looked, and I didn't know it at the time. And I've always admitted when I was wrong, and I was wrong a lot of times. And I'm thankful that I didn't do anything stupid to feed into that, jeopardize the perceived jeopardy that our relationship was in. There was nothing that I can't sum up in words how special it is to have a relationship stand time and space and become stronger. Now, if I am gone for a couple days, or you're gone for a couple days, it feels like an eternity. But I was gone for so long. I was for 11 months, which is not very much compared to what some people were deployed. But talking about us right now,
11 months is a long fucking
11 months is a
time.
long time, and when my heart's on the other side of the world, or the United States, it can bring you into kind of a dark place. I was going through some dark times. You've gone through some dark times, and I'm very happy that our relationship stood the test of time and space. What do you think that couples that are leaving for the military could do better to better their chances, other than be friends? I know being that says it's said lightly, but being friends is an important thing. What else do you think?
Make memories. Don't dwell on. I spent way too much time like wasting the time that what little time that we had, mind you, of worrying about the fact that you had to leave, the fact that you had to whatever. So when you're only home for 4 days and I'm spending the first and the last day worrying about them, I only get 2 days with you. And that's, I'm wasting 48 hours worried about it later, after they're gone, before they get there. But when you're with your partner, make memories and spend time with each other. And when they come home, don't let them be pulled in a million different directions. Turn the tables. If you want to see everybody and people want to see you, I think that's great. You should have an open house at your convenience, at your house. And the people that want to make it, because you'll be very surprised at the few that come for you.
I want to let's just go into that as the most disgusting feeling that I've ever felt is all the people that said,
Oh,
"Hey,
and by
come
proxy,
and
same
visit,
as well.
come and
God.
visit me, come and visit. Hey, come visit me when you're in town." Like, what the fuck do you mean? I just flew 7 hours to get here, and you want me to get an Uber or get a ride to where you're at to come visit with you, for you to smoke weed in front of me, and then have a couple drinks and just bullshit and what lecture me about what I should do. It's not worth it. If you're a veteran or active duty guy, either you're wasting your time going out to visit people. They should be making an effort to come see you, an active effort.
Absolutely.
You know why? Because you're fucking worth it.
Yep.
So, and I always try to make it a point to visit people who enter our area and let them know that they're important. Like, shout out to my boy Jeremy when he came up here. No one wanted to visit him. I cried when I
I
heard
wanted to
that.
visit him.
So I said, "Fuck
We
it.
wanted to visit
I'm
him.
going to the gym with you, and then I'm bringing you back to my house." I paid his way for his day pass at the gym.
Absolutely.
I brought him back to our home, and
it was our pleasure.
And it was our pleasure, and
we can't wait to have him back.
We can't that as well. But you can't sit here and act like a good person and tell somebody returning back from the military or for some long expedition serving your country, to what extent, who gives a fuck? Moving boxes or shooting terrorists, doesn't matter. When they come back home,
sacrifice is a sacrifice, man.
Yeah, treat them. Take them out to a drink. Talk to them.
I don't think that anybody's sacrifice should be, minimalized in any way, because I think everybody's upbringing is different. If you haven't been exposed to much of the world, everything is going to be a big deal, right? But if you've been exposed to a lot of the world, then, small things that seem big to other people will just seem pretty minuscule to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, let's kind of shift gears a little bit. I want to ask you something, just for anybody who doesn't know the answer to this question, because I do. What is the most important thing that you've ever done to give energy or give light to the world? The most selfless thing you've done to put out to the world? Just off the top of your head,
Wow. Well, I guess it's going to go back to my senior project. Mm-hmm. I think just giving back to my community has always been a huge priority to me. Giving back because I didn't come from a lot either. There was times where my mom and I had to use the food bank, or we had to get help from our friends and help from our neighbors and things like that. It really does take a village,
especially coming from a single
excuse me,
a single
yeah,
parenting relationship.
My mom has pretty much always been a single mom. My mom is one of the strongest people I will ever meet. She's my biggest hero.
Absolutely. I agree.
She has been my number one supporter in everything that I do. She's been our number one supporter in everything that we do,
Absolutely, she has.
But my mom has always worked her fucking ass off. My dad passed away when I was 10 years old, and my mom instantly became both mom and dad. And she really taught me how to be a strong, independent woman, because nobody's going to save you.
Nobody's going to save you. I think that's a very honest thing.
It does take a village. It takes a village for everything. So the community really took care of us, and so giving back to the community has always been very important to me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing and opening up. Do you need a second?
No.
Okay. That makes me emotional as well. When you talk about your mother like I think every mother wants to be talked about. And also you give back to the world so much on a daily basis. I know this last Christmas we did a great food drive, or a great, present drive with Total Nutrition. And
oh my God.
You were all over that like
that's like for kids. That's not even just the community. God, kids have a huge soft spot. Giving back to the kids was one of the greatest things ever. Like putting a bunch of presents under that Christmas tree for kids that
we also
don't
asked
get
for
shit.
Donations from our friends, yes. And every single cent of it honestly went to those kids. How much we raised? Like $500.
A lot. It was a lot. We raised a lot. We got like 20 something presents. It was a lot.
And then we dumped in. I'm not going to say how much we put in because it doesn't matter, because we did it.
It doesn't even matter.
I would give my left arm if I could help a child smile.
I used to on Thanksgiving and Christmas. We used to make sack lunches. My mom, myself, and my grandma, and sometimes her significant other Michael, before he had passed away. And
I'm sorry about that.
My uncle came a couple of times, but it was mostly the three of us ladies. My mom, my Grammy, and myself. We went down to downtown Seattle. and on the corner of First and Pike.
That is quite a
And
street in these days. That was a while ago.
it was quite a street back in those days. But she had this fucking minivan, and you know how on minivans how the doors like slide open, right?
Mhm.
So we would lay the back seat down, and we would put just boxes of sack lunches.
And
They would have
you would go out
it would
to
have like
who these
turkey
me?
sandwiches. No, we would have like turkey sandwiches, Capri Suns, cracker, whatever. Like we would have like these like sack lunches, and we would make like 300-400 of them, and we would go to downtown Salem. We would pass them out to the homeless, and then I started volunteering. Well, then someone got greedy, and there was and so I don't remember exactly what happened, but somebody wanted more than one,
I think
and
I've heard this story. They went hands on with you
yeah,
guys,
yeah,
and
yeah. They tried to come through like the window or the door, or I don't remember exactly what happened, but somebody got greedy, and it scared us women. It was one of the times that it was just us women down
and it
there,
got physical.
and it got physical, and it scared the shit out of us, and so we didn't do that anymore. And makes me sad because it was one of the coolest things for me to experience as a kid. Then for a while I was volunteering at the Union Gospel Mission in downtown Seattle.
Wow,
I would go on like the rescue missions where we would go over bridges and pass out like socks, wool blankets, space blankets,
very selfless acts to be a part of
beanies,
this.
things like
Because
that.
I've volunteered as well
Oh my
once,
god, I love
and
doing this stuff.
I wish I could say I was stronger. It was very difficult for me to
Oh, I cried every single
partake
time.
of
I was
it.
crying just a second ago. I am a very emotional person. I didn't used to be. And I think maybe
That's
that's why
okay.
I'm so emotional now, is because I spent so long just trying to just not be emotional, and then
You should love
I don't know
every
why.
part of it's okay to be emotional. It's good. I mean, we should, as humans, we should
It's
discipline
healthy
our
to be
emotions.
emotional.
We should discipline them to a certain extent
Sure.
when it comes to making decisions. But it's so good to be emotional and to love
Yes.
every part of that roller coaster. You going out to hand out stuff to people who had nothing is just another testament to the type of person that you are, and why any person would be more than thankful to call you the person they're going to spend the rest of their life with,
Oh,
because it's very interesting that
you're so sweet,
there's not
honey.
a lot
Thank
of
you.
people in the world that would go through that and put themselves in, like, in this day and age. It's dangerous to go down. Like, I've had people try to stab me with needles. I've had people try to stab
Yeah.
me with knives that
Yeah.
were not very clean, I'm pretty sure. So, I've had to go hands on with a couple people, and I'm not ashamed of it at all. 100% not. Uh, I'm not just sitting there beating up on random people, but I've had to defend myself, and it's not a cool thing to go and try to help people who are homeless, who are unfortunate, and then you end up people trying to hurt you, who are drug addicts. Who
Yeah.
Anyone who's been down to downtown Seattle and honestly not just gone inside the fucking warm buildings will understand. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna be accosted on the street for anything.
And
So
this was
I was
before. I
attacked
mean,
a
now
couple
it
weeks
is
ago.
it is worse now than ever.
I've never seen like this. Well,
I've
they
never
legalized all
seen
the
it like
drugs
this.
down here, all the hard drugs. You can shoot up right in front of kids.
So this is just. I mean, this was probably. God, how old am I? This is probably what, like, more than 15 years ago, I would say.
Well,
You
it's
know, it
so
was
15 years to
probably.
now. Just last
Yeah.
Christmas, you did something very selfless. So obviously, you're not so random. I would say very well strategized and with a lot of effort put into them. Acts of kindness have really never stopped since, sounds like,
Random
your whole
acts of
life.
kindness is like stopping in the middle of a fucking pouring down rain to some dude that doesn't have a fucking umbrella at the bus stop and giving him your umbrella. That's a random act of kindness. Or, like, you see somebody that is stuck in the middle of an intersection, their shit died, you gotta, pull them out of the intersection, or push their car, help them push their car. That's a
That's
random
my
act of
favorite.
like kindness. But I care about people. I care about people, and I think that one of the best gifts that I got from doing those things is sitting down and hearing people's stories, because that is an experience that you can't.
Recreate.
No.
It's pure.
Yeah, it is. So, like, that is an experience to just hear, where they came from, the train that they took to get to their station. It's something that is just undescribable, and I wouldn't trade those experiences for the world, even though they ended a little bit sour. That's okay. uh, you know I wouldn't trade them for anything. They helped me shape the person that I am today, and they helped me see the world from as many different views and aspects as possible. And I think that's important.
And you also never really stopped. You just changed what you were doing, which I think leads down to consistency again. You're a consistent person. You're the most consistent person I know, and it applies to everything you do. I think when you embody your beliefs, you're gonna keep going on the path that you're going on, and I think you're doing a great job. And I think you should continue to do the great job. Being a bright part of our community is important. Well, I think we are just about out of time. I'd like to just wrap this up. Is there anything that you can say that you'd hope for the world for at a small level, at a at just our as our city? What can we do as citizens to better impact our community, not just with food drives and stuff, but just as a personal? What changes can we make right now to really be better for the rest of the world?
Listen to each other, be willing to learn from one another, and most of all, love and respect each other. Just just try it.
Just fucking try.
Just give it a shot. Just just try it. Just see if it gives you that warm and fuzzy feeling. If not, go back to being an asshole. It's your prerogative. But just give it a shot. Just try to love and respect one another. Love your neighbor. Just I don't know. Go hug your mama.
Go hug your mama. There you have it, folks. Go hug your mama. Well, I definitely appreciate your time. It's always great to having any conversation with you. I think you're one of the brightest minds that I've ever encountered. Not necessarily from an intelligence of books standpoint, from just a moral intelligence and having a solid compass that's been perfectly calibrated with north, south, east, and west of morals, good, bad, personal, and non-personal would be the north, south, and east and west. I think we need a lot more of that in the community, and I think that it's great what you're doing. And I wish you nothing but success with your business. If there's anybody that wants to get a hold of you and ask you some questions or just talk with you and kind of bounce ideas off of you,
Please.
How can they get a hold of you?
Facebook, Instagram. You just look me up, Brandon Lowry. Or you can go to Eddie's profile and look up his wife. Okay, that's right. Me.
Don't scroll through all the profile pictures. Some are inappropriate.
No, they're not.
I know. No, we'll say that for 10 minutes from now. It's so great to talk with you. Thank you very much, and thank you for breaking down some of these borders that we have as society and that separate. I learn something about you every time I talk to you because you open up a little bit more, and we're recreating trust through conversation. So thank you for your time, and I wish you nothing but success at your business. Get Cozy with Ree. Much love.